Hi, this is Braden Holtby.
Hey, this is Tanner the Bulldozer Bozer.
Hi, this is Brian Burke from Toronto, Ontario.
This is Daryl Sutter.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carly Agro from Sportsnet Central.
This is Jay Onright.
This is McDick coming to you from Tufnell, Saskatchewan.
Hey, everybody. My name is Steele Fleury.
This is Kelly Rudy.
This is Corey Cross.
This is Wade Redden.
This is Jordan Tutu.
My name is Jim Pattison.
Hey, it's Ron McLean, Hockey Night in Canada and Rogers Hometown Hockey, and welcome to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. We got a great one on tap for you today. We got a little fun intro coming up, but before we get there, let's get to our sponsors of today's episode. Jim Spenrath and team over at Three Trees Tap and Kitchen. They just finished up over the weekend with the Kinsmen and Cadets doing their Telemiracle Steak Night. I hope a bunch of you got to enjoy that as much as I did. The food was fantastic. It was a horrendously cold night, but the team there did a fantastic job getting all the food out across, the area. And like I say, I enjoyed the steaks. Another side note in the podcast, I sit down and have a couple beverages with QDM. And I should point out, you can get growlers filled of 4th Meridian or this week's podcast beverage, the Ribstone Creek from Edgerton. If you take in your growlers or you don't have one, take it in and or stop in to Three Trees and you can get them filled there. Also for reservations, call 780-874-7625 and head to Three Trees today, the fantastic restaurant. Mac Construction. Welcome to the podcast, Mac Construction. They've been doing business locally for over 12 years with over 100 homes completed. They are a design, build, custom home building operation that has specialized in constructing custom homes, cottages, and RTMs throughout Lloydminster and community since 2008. In addition to the custom home building, Mac Construction does extensive renovations to residents and light commercial work. If you're looking to build your dream house, head to macconstruction.ca and look no further. Jen Gilbert and team, for over 40 years, since 1976, the dedicated realtors of Coldwell Banker Cityside Realty have served Lloydminster and surrounding area. Did you know when it comes to rental properties, they are the biggest licensed residential property management company in the city of Lloydminster? Yes, that is a mouthful. They deal with over 250 rental units. We're talking houses, apartments, and condos, direct deposits. So get rid of the headache, buy a place, get them to run it for you, and just collect the checks, all right? For people looking for housing, they even offer month-to-month tenancies. They know where home is truly where awesomeness happens. Coldwell Banker, Cityside Realty, for everything real estate, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 780-875-3343. HSI Group, they are the local oil field burners and combustion experts that can help make sure you have a compliant system working for you. The team also offers security, surveillance, and automation products for residential, commercial, livestock, and agricultural applications. I always talk about the fob, access to the door, just a little swipe, and let me be very clear. It was brutal tonight. I'm here late, and I've been in and out to start the truck. And it is awful outside, and every time I don't have to dig for a key and just give her a little swipe, I'm always over the moon that HSI Group is doing the work here. They use technology to give you peace of mind so you can focus on the things that truly matter. Stop in today at 3902 52nd Street or give Brody or Kim a call at 306-825-6310. SNP billboard across from the UFA. Shout out to Read 'em Right with the amazing work of Deanna Wandler. They make me look sharp. Gartner Management is another one, Lloydminster-based company. They house the podcast here. And once again, they're another group that just does amazing work. Shout out to Wade Gartner. Give them a call, 780-808-5025 if you're looking for rental properties, commercial rental properties, whether it's an office or a 6,000 square foot commercial space. And if you're into any of these businesses, let them know you heard about them on the podcast. Helps them know you're listening. Now, let's get on to the T-Bar 1, Tale of the Tape. Originally from Tufnell, Saskatchewan, Dixon DeLorme, better known as Quick Dick McDick, is a YouTube sensation telling it like it is. if like it is means hick from small town Saskatchewan telling you about Trudeau protests and everything small town Saskatchewan. I'm kidding. It's hilarious. You should go give it a listen. Now buckle up, because here we go.
This is Quick Dick McDick coming to you from Saskatchewan here today, asking you, what is the one word that you use to describe the extreme sub-zero temperatures that we experience in this great province? If you answered nippy, you might just be from Saskatchewan.
This temp is in a spiral. I think it's very vital to take
Some time,
to make
a rhyme.
It's nippy is the title.
Here we go.
It's cold outside today, That's right, I say it's nippy. It's nippy, 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 nippy. It's cold outside today, That's right, I say it's nippy. Nippy, nippy, nippy. Out of bed this morning. It finally finished storming. Long underwear and comb my hair and saw those sundogs forming. Put on an extra layer and say a little prayer. It's minus 40, come on Morty. Your tire's off your square. It's nippy outside today, outside I say it's nippy. Nippy, it's nippy, nippy. It's cold outside today, outside that's right, it's nippy. It's nippy, nippy. The canola has to go, no matter when they call. The wind can blow, or it can snow, but nothing stops the ball. And if today is chosen, battery's frozen, I might need a heater. Or a torch and a charger and a little ether. It's nippy out today, outside today, dress warm today, it's nippy. It's nippy. It's nippy, nippy. It's cold outside today, dress warm okay, it's nippy. Nippy. It's nippy. Nippy.
First off, welcome to the Sean Newman podcast. There's no point in starting it any other way than I got the notorious QDM on. I watched your rap. I watched your rap video. I was like, I'm playing that for this episode at the start. I thought it was great.
Nice, I like it, man. Thanks. It's crazy how these things start, man. Like it really is. It's just. I used the word nippy like 4 or 5 times a day, but I was kind of like
nippy.
I was making
nippy.
But like I was making fun of everybody that was like, oh man, sure is cold, and I'm just like, you know what, like it's cold every day. It's just cold. It's wintertime. So that turned into my response for the first few people, like, because you're in Saskatchewan, the first thing you're going to talk to people about is the weather and how cold it is, right? And and I don't know why, but I just said it to somebody. I was like, yeah, it's nippy. It's nippy out today. And like, that's where I stopped for a second. And I was like, oh, I just had an idea. And that was it. Like it, like, yeah.
I gotta go make a video now.
Not really, but you put it in the memory banks there or whatever. And then when I got home that night, I wrote it all out real quick. And then the next day, just throughout the course of the day, I just kind of recorded it. And those ones take forever to edit, man. They really do.
Well, I thought it was awesome. I had
thanks, buddy.
Here's my day. You know, I've been doing a little bit of work with Red Bicycle, so they wanted to come get some pictures of me doing this, and I was like, yeah, sure,
cool.
like
Okay.
Yeah, cool, yeah, right, great. So I got home from work, kids got home, I made supper, and then I'm like watching the time. I'm like, and then my boy's like, you want to wrestle, Dad? I'm like, yeah, we got time to wrestle. All right, let's go wrestle. So then we wrestled, played a little football. Then I'm still looking at the clock like, I gotta go. So then I'm running around here with my head chopped off, and she wants to get a pouring of me pouring some like scotch into a cup. And I'm like, well, now what am I going to do with it? Right? Like, how do I get it back in the bottle?
Yeah.
Guess we're going to fire this night up with QDM the right way.
You never pour it back in the bottle, man.
But I did do you good this time. I am drinking Alberta-made Ribstone Creek tonight.
We're getting you there, man. We are building you piece by piece.
Piece by piece. I'm a slow learner.
Well, cheers, buddy.
Yeah, cheers. It's good to have you on. I've been thinking about bringing you back on since I had you on last time. So it's
what's wasn't the last time the Health Foundation, we did a real quick one there?
Well,
for
that's
the
true.
Health
That is
Foundation?
true. That is true. We did do a real quick one. And that made...
Oh man, big congrats to you guys. Yeah, let's hear your number again.
It was over 350,000.
That's so awesome.
The goal was 250. The goal was 200, and we hit it. And I was kind of
awesome.
like, well, where do we go from here? But it's because of guys like you coming on and bringing some fanfare with you. Everybody who came in supported it, right? Like it was cool.
It was really great. And man, what an accomplishment by Mikey there. He drove me to the poorhouse. I didn't think he was going to get that many kilometers. I had to sell a steer to pay that bastard. No, that was awesome, man. What a pile of running he did. And you guys had a lot of good guests on there. I was trying to, I was kind of in and out throughout the whole course of the thing. Cause I mean, I got my day-to-day stuff. And then when I got in that night, it was right close to when you guys were like kind of getting close to wrapping up, and I couldn't believe what was happening. So it was like an awkward moment where I was like the end of my day usually is like a toilet and then toilet to shower kind of thing. And I kept putting off the shower thing, and it turned into one of those things where maybe you wind up on social media a little bit too long and you got the big red ring around your ass kind of thing or whatever. You're like, I've been sitting on the toilet not doing anything for too long, but I got to see how it ends, right? And then what a great ending. Yeah, so congrats to you guys and the Health Foundation. That was an amazing accomplishment. And I mean, now you got to beat it next year too. That's the tough part, right?
Yeah. I don't know what to even say about it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. I had fun doing it. I know Mike had fun running. I know the team had fun. It was just cool that we could pull something off with, every time me and you talk, we talk about, like, how you doing? Oh, all right. Right. And then COVID, we're making things go. It was just nice to do something fun and like have people smiling and kind of like high-fiving each other virtually with like, hell yeah, we're doing some good. And we had a group, a girls hockey team challenge another girls hockey team.
Okay.
Or was it boys? Geez, I'm forgetting now, but it was minor hockey. They challenged, and then they had like this Twitter/war going on and who was going to donate more money. And I was like, that's like super cool.
That's a good kind of war to get going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The world needs more wars like that.
Absolutely. So how is you? How is the big guy?
Good, man. Yeah, it's been. I'm sure people have noticed I've kind of slowed down a little bit with my YouTube uploads, but it's kind of been a trade. I kind of traded off like every Monday morning productions where I'll kind of slack to later in the week, and then sometimes I don't get them out in a week, and then I'll kick another one out on Monday, or something will come to me and I'll do it right away. And I'm actually kind of working on a little bit bigger one right now that's actually taking an insane amount of research, and I'm actually trying to organize visiting a couple of guys' farms that are around here, which is, you got to be careful with that too. I mean, all of it's all outside and everything will be fine, but I mean, to try and it's farmer stuff, to try and get a time where I'm free and then they're free and we can meet up. And there's just there's some cool things going on with a little bit of energy things around here that I really want people to be aware of. And so that's taken a little bit of time. And then for some reason, last year, a lot of people were calling me and, trying to get me to come on this and come on that and do this Zoom and do that Zoom and stuff. And people get a little zoomed out. And I get people trying to get fresh content and get people into it. So I've been trying to take on a few more of those. And like what I've been trying to do for a few people is a 60-second video and then a live question and answer where you can kind of interact with people a little bit. And it's been good. I did some with Cargill and a couple others, and then I've got a few others with the Canadian Young Farmers Federation coming up here, and Canadian Young Farmers Foundation, I believe it is. And just trying to kind of get out there a little bit and say hi to people instead of just, it's easier for me to put a video up and then like you just kind of push your content at people and then you're like, I'll see you next week kind of thing. So I don't know. It's neat to be able to interact with people a little bit and try and liven up some Zoom meetings and stuff, because they do get monotonous. I'm sure if you're like a part of a company that's doing a Zoom meeting 2 or 3 times a day or 2 or 3 times a week, you just be like, I'm not even going anymore because it's not fun. Not that I make them any funner than what they usually are or whatever, but it's just, it gives people a chance to ask you some questions, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I do what I normally do before Quick comes on. I listen to you talk for a long amount of time, and I was laughing.
Sorry about that.
Because I listened to you on several different podcasts, including the last episode we did, and I wrote down before I got to the last thing I listened to was our last episode, and I listened to you and Vance Crow, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. From St. Louis, you betcha.
And the crazy thing is like, wow, like this guy, like I'm really digging this conversation these two are having. Like, it's like, and that doesn't, I don't mean this like, it just, there's not a whole lot that you go on where you have a conversation and I sit there and I like sink into it. A lot of it is, and you probably feel this, a lot of it is when you get onto a new podcast, because we've had to do it already, is you kind of have that first conversation like, hey, I'm this guy, you're that guy.
Yeah, you kind of get a feel of each other, right?
And everyone asks the same questions. And I had forgotten that you'd been on Vance Crow before. So I walked into this one and started listening. I'm like, this is like really good. So then I wrote down Vance Crow because I'm like, we got to talk about this for a second. And then obviously I liked his first episode he did with you because on the last episode we talked about Vance Crow. So I'm looking up Vance Crow after this, and I'm going to see if he'll come on here because he seems like
you totally should, man.
A pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he really is. He gets a lot of good guests, and like his history is really neat too. Just for the simple fact that he did a lot of work discussing, the GMO conversation with a lot of people, which is there's so many touchy subjects out there right now. I'd go so far as to say all subjects are touchy.
I was just going to say everything is touchy. Yes.
In the world, like if it boils down to what type of underwear, if you're a boxer briefs kind of guy, or if you're
somebody's
no
fired up
kind of
about
guy,
it.
like there will be a war on social media over it, and someone will be called an asshole and a dipshit and you have no idea what you're talking about. Then there will be 12 different papers cited on studies that have been done on boxers and studies that have been done on briefs and what's the testicular support out of this one and that one. And you know what I mean? Like,
do you want my opinion?
Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah.
So we couldn't have, when my wife and I were trying to have kids, we went I don't know, 8 months where we, we're having a lot of fun, but we ain't having any kids. Going to the doctor and he goes, what type of underwear do you wear? And I'm like, I don't know, like boxers. He's like, nope, no more. Take them off and don't wear anything. You're going commando. And I'm like, all right. And we had a kid like 2 weeks.
Make sure the wife heard that, right? Hey, he said commando,
he
right?
said it. 2 weeks later, we were pregnant. And every time we went to have a kid, that's what I did. I was like, nope, no underwear now. It's commando, baby. And it worked like a charm every time. That's all it is.
Have you wrote a paper on it?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure I could find 10 that would confirm what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should definitely write a paper, cite a paper, and then get a debate going on it. Yeah, for sure.
Going back to Vance Crow, what was cool, what I wrote down was I had a listener tell me, I mentioned you were coming back on, and they said, it's funny. Last time you guys talked, it sounded like it was wearing on you on every Monday. That was kind of the feeling he got. Yeah. And that was, I'm forgetting the time. I want to say I don't know. Let's call it November. And you were just on his podcast and you talked about internal happiness and your Christmas Carol started to take the pressure off and you started to share your internal happiness. And I wrote that down. I'm like, that's cool. Because I think I felt similar things on this end of it where you kind of, it gets hard. I'm a consistency guy, which means this tonight, I'm going to be up super late, making sure it gets out for Wednesday.
Getting this done and getting it ready for Wednesday. Yeah.
That's right.
And I got I got a lot of respect for you for doing that because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put all this stuff together. And like we said on Vance's podcast as well, like, it's not just, you don't just push the button and go. Like, I mean, with you, I mean, you're doing how much editing, messing around and uploading and how many different platforms that you put your podcast on and everything. Is just, you're going to do your pre-roll into it and then your outro and everything. And I mean, and editing all your sound and everything, like it all takes so much time. Right. And like, same with mine, like when you're putting stuff up, like, I mean, some of these productions I put together are like 200 clips of me in a bunch of random places or whatever. And yeah, it was absolutely starting to wear on me. You know, and like this, yeah, this is maybe a really good topic to talk about here, because if you've got listeners that are listening to, I think the thing that's changed for me now, because we've talked about this before with my previous career in the oil field, is like I was stressed 24 hours a day, and like waking up in the middle of the night stressed, and like crazy amounts of stress going on to the point where it was making me unhealthy. And I didn't realize it until it was almost a little bit too late. Like we talked, my dad had helped me recognize when you need to find these things. At this point in time, I'd set a goal for myself that I was going to upload every Monday for 1 year. And when I was getting right into the end of it, I had talked to several of my friends and family members and people that I see every day. And I was like, this is getting tough. And I fully recognize it right now. And I was like, I'm still going to do it. But then after I do it, like I'm going to be taking a break from it, because like it was actually a really good feeling, being able to step back and look at it and being like, you know what, I think I'm slowly identifying my own mental problems or what I have going on or how I have to handle situations. And Quick Dick McDick has helped me do that. And it's kind of verified the fact that I can recognize that in myself now. And I wish that I could give that power to other people, because it's the most important part of diving into mental health, is recognizing when you have a problem coming. And that's impossible for 99% of people to be able to recognize that they are causing themselves their own problem. It's like, it's really tough. And I think, and when I did that Christmas Carol, like a big weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I was happy again. And I was like, shit, I can't leave everyone without a Christmas Carol. You know what I mean? And since then, I've just kind of been putting them up when I'm ready for it and when I feel like it. And I've been having a little more fun with it. So that's a good thing too, right?
Well, the reason, I think it's really cool what you just said. Once again, I wrote it down because when I heard you say it, I was like, wow, that's like really cool. And I've said this before on the podcast. Like at one point, I was releasing 5 every 2 weeks. And
Jeez.
and the thing isn't that I don't enjoy doing it. I would love to do more, but people got to remember, you talk about all the editing, but then you got a place in the family and the work and everything else. And I was starting to have the problem with, I'd come home and I'd be walking back out the door again. And my 4-year-old's going, Dad, you going to work? Nope. Going to podcast? Yep. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not good. Right. Like we got to curb
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. And then you gotta, the thing that you gotta struggle with that I don't is you gotta line up guests and work with someone else's time and everything. Right. I've got the luxury of being able to just work at it at my own time, you know, and whenever I'm ready, I go. And if I don't like it, I can fix it or whatever. And I don't got a kid running around either. Right. That's fair. But I guess I just look at, we all got our thing. We all got our things that are good and bad. And it's just cool that people can recognize that. Cause what I did was I committed to doing 5 every 2 weeks for 3 months, just 3 months. And if it wasn't working, I was going to pull back. And so I got to pull back. It was the best thing I ever did. Cause now I'm like, yeah, geez. And now I'm doing all these archive interviews. And I told you last time you're on, you know, I'm getting to sit down with, 90-year-olds. Well, now I've interviewed a 98-year-old. That's so awesome, man. Yeah, I'm like halfway through that one right now. But like
the Beamishes, the honey wagon, man. Have you made it to the honey wagon?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But like that's a classic like Western thing. And they just took the honey wagon out of Tufnell 3 weeks ago. Like that's how they were running up until through. No, I'm just kidding, man.
For the listener who doesn't know, the honey wagon was how instead of having the shit truck come around and suck out your septic tank, they had a horse pulled wagon called the honey wagon. Well, and you can imagine where I'm going with this.
Yeah, but this wasn't like right now the septic truck maybe comes once, maybe twice a year, depending on what your diet's like or whatever. That's not the case. But the honey wagon, like these guys, this was basically the early pioneer day shit truck. Like, can you imagine having that job?
And then go and spread it on the outside of town. Like, can you imagine when the wind blew the wrong way?
Oh man, yeah, that's like it's a horrible pun, but talk about a shitty job. Like, I mean, that's just what a terrible job. But it's like, that's kind of one of the cool things. I mean, I love hearing stuff like that and looking back on times like that, because it shows us how far we've come
100%.
as humanity, right? And like, that's kind of leading up into a lot of the work that I'm going to be heading into. Is that a lot of people have probably noticed. I've had a lot of people ask me, actually, like, you haven't done anything political or any of this stuff lately, kind of thing. And I'm just like, yeah, and it's been kind of a nice break from it. But right now, with everything that's happening in the world, kind of the last thing we really need is a goofball, being a goofball on the internet about and I know people I mean, there's endless material out there for what you could do, kind of thing. But I mean, just with the state of COVID-19 and quarantine and masking and like everything that's happening right now, combined on top of our government and the shape that the world's in, I kind of took a stance a little bit here to just try and just put funny stuff out that has nothing to do with anything, because I guess my biggest goal right now is to try and provide people an escape from the world of what's happening. It's important to be able to laugh at some of the stuff that's going on, but some of it's really not a laughing matter. And that's kind of why I've done nothing to do with COVID on any of my videos or anything, because not a laughing matter. It's very serious. And we just need to get to the point where we have economies open again and we have people functioning normal lives. I mean, whether people want to talk about isolations and masks and PCR tests and everything, I will not talk about it on any of my videos. We are just going to try and just shut our brains off and laugh at a goofball in Saskatchewan for a little while, right? And anything I do wind up doing that's kind of energy / agricultural / political related is going to be just in a little bit different of a tone. But I'm pretty pumped up for the new one that I'll have coming up. It's probably not going to be next week, but it'll be the week after. But yeah, it's just a lot to do with this whole oil is dead garbage that's floating around the world right now, that we just really, really need to get people's minds changed on what's happening with energy in the world, energy and agriculture specifically, because it's frightening what's happening and how quickly people are trying to act on a lot of these things with, green energy and regenerative farming and a lot of different ideas. And there's good parts to a lot of them, and there's detrimental parts to a lot of them. And it's important that we consider all parts when we're making decisions of whether we're going to ban pesticides and fertilizers and GMOs and stop producing oil and gas and everything. A lot of people that are calling for a lot of this action really don't know what they're asking for. And that's kind of what I've said all along, even if you go all the way back to the protester diets video that I did. But it needs to be somehow, I have to come across different on my videos to talk to people, because a lot of people that need to hear what I'd like them to hear will stop listening after the first couple of minutes because they're so offended that they can't watch anymore. And the rest of us that, have one or two feelings that kind of can't be hurt and a sense of humor, will watch to the end and be like, hey, that was great, man. You know what I mean? But there's lots of people that can't watch this stuff right to the end because they get offended and upset right away, right?
What you're talking about is trying to change the way you talk about it to try and change the opposition's mind. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that everyone should have their mind changed or that I need to change the opposition's mind. It just needs to come. It just needs to come across in a way that they will listen and just at least understand the other side of the argument. Right?
I was gonna say not to change their mind, to get them to the discussion table, to stop yelling at each other and try and bridge that gap, right? Because if you can start to have the discussion, I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do more of where it's not somebody who agrees identically with me, right? To have QE on, to have Quick on 1,000 times would be a lot of fun. But we're basically on the same page on, I would say, 85% of things. I'm sure there's something laying out in the weeds that can set us both off. But for the most part, we got to find a way to get. Where do we get the stuff when I can flip a table and disagree with you and throw something across the room? Like, we haven't done that yet. We're not really having much fun here. Well, I know one that there's a couple that I think we not disagree on, because I but I could think of a couple. Sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean, I like having different opinions than somebody else and people that have a conversation. But yeah, like you're talking, it just needs to come to a point where people need to be able to have a conversation, a debate, and a debate is something where, I mean, you
it's
go
very
back and
useful
forth with each other. You let each other talk. You each make your points. You don't even have to go away, believing the other person's side or thinking that you've changed somebody, but you can be like, you know what, that was a good conversation. And I'd say like a successful debate with somebody is when both opponents maybe go away not agreeing with each other, but both opponents go away with the points that their opponent had made in their mind and use that critically when they're thinking about that issue next time they visit it and be like, well, this guy had this, and this point to make on that. And I can see how that would work here right now. Doesn't mean you have to believe in it, but you can respect it, right?
Well, and the thing I listened to, I hadn't listened to Joe Rogan in a long time because he went to Spotify, and I don't know why that's weird for me, but something to do with him switching platforms. I got no reason other than it's changed.
I'm sure it has something to do with money, but that's just me talking. I don't know.
Well, no, I know why he did it, but I don't know why I didn't follow along. But I just listened to him and God, I'm forgetting his name now. Ari Glasser. You ever heard that name?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Ari Glasser is I'll read the thing to you because I think this is a good one for everyone to listen to. He is a former director of the American Civil Liberties Union and a lifelong defender of every citizen's right to free speech. And he's a subject to a documentary in 2020 called Mighty Ira. And he talks about defending the KKK, talks about defending people against abortion, like that are saying some pretty horrendous things. And he says you need to protect everyone's free speech because as soon as you start limiting somebody what they can say, it comes, who's to say it can't come back on you? And now it's me that wants to shut down what I think is bad. And then somebody else wants to shut down what they think is bad. And hell, we all know that you go between Alberta, Saskatchewan, there's going to be people disagree, let alone Alberta or Saskatchewan to the East Coast.
Yeah,
and
I have people in Saskatchewan disagree with me all the time.
That's right.
I promise you that.
Yeah. And he talks about defending the KKK. Imagine this. He has a story in there, I'm selling Joe Rogan right now, but he has a story in there of defending the Nazis getting to march in a hometown of a guy who survived, I think he said prisoner 8, something like that, of the Holocaust. And that guy, and they talked about it. And he talks about that. And like, can you imagine trying to justify that they get to walk and like, but when it ended up happening, the guy that was the Holocaust survivor had 60,000 people show up for him, and the KKK didn't march. Actually, they ran with their tails tucked between their legs. And he's
that right?
I admire what you're trying to do, I guess, is all I'm getting at in a long-about way, because there is something very beneficial in hearing things you don't like, because it helps you formulate your arguments against, well, why don't I like that? Right? Like maybe I need to do some digging and get some better speech here so I can defend myself against it.
Yeah, that's something you really find in a lot of things that happen. You see it a lot on social media, but like with people in real life as well, or even someone that's just trying to defend an opinion that they have an opinion, but they don't know why they have that opinion. They just have it and they're sticking with it. Well, I don't have a lot of respect for somebody that's just like, well, I just don't agree with it. Well, why? Like, why don't you agree with it? If it's just because it's something you heard, or it's because somebody else's opinion that they don't agree with it, I mean, you can say that too, but you can say, well, I haven't really looked into it and this is what I think, kind of thing, right? And that's where, I've always said, I actually went back and looked, and I've always said in all my videos that I'm not a complete bastardizer of green energy and green technology or anything. There's a place for all of this stuff. It's just, I'm getting to the point where I've done quite a substantial amount of research and actually talked to a lot of different companies and everything that are working with this technology and a few different things. And now to the point where I'm going to be going to a few guys' farms that have some of these installed. And it just, it boils down to, we need to work at polluting less, but we still need fossil fuels and steady baseload power to survive. And you don't get that with renewables, but that doesn't mean that we should cancel renewables. But at the same time, doesn't mean that we should cancel fossil fuels either. You know what I mean? There's a little world where we can all work together and understand that when we do all this different kind of energy, we're still making a carbon footprint, whether it's solar panels or wind or nuclear. I mean, we're going to pollute no matter what we do to live on this earth. It's just a matter of doing better and trying to control it and making sure that we can all affordably live and eat. Like,
I think
you got to
the word
take all these into consideration. You can't just say, I love solar because somebody said it's green energy and that's what the world needs to go to and oil is dead. Well, if you say that, there's so many of us are dead without oil and gas is the thing, you know. It's just, but how do you get that message across to somebody, right?
the word you're looking for is balance, I want to say. There's
man,
a balanced approach to it. You know, we were talking about this on the weekend, that I don't disagree with anything you just said. And I think there's a lot of this is where this is why, you know, I need to have somebody on that we can both yell at, or you can yell at me and I can yell at you. That makes for interesting radio. And said, yeah, I totally agree. But we're having
you know what? Let's just stop for 2 seconds. And I'm just, Sean, would you quit being such an asshole?
Yeah, you're a dick. All right.
Fucking. I feel better
all right, there we go.
Okay, let's go.
We were having the conversation of if we had you know, I know that you have your words about Trudeau. I can't follow, like, he's hard to follow. He's not a great leader. Like, he just doesn't inspire. And we were
That's
saying,
actually
like,
being quite nice to him.
Yeah, that's right. We were saying, like, if you want to reduce our footprint and you want to curb pollution and you wanna, I think a thing that would, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and I'd love your opinion on it, is as a leader, couldn't you go, listen, we need to do things that are better for the world long term. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a healthy dose of the free money that's going around, and instead of do that, put it in our economy, use our economy to develop the things that can save the world, and then implement them to every other country. And now you could probably unite an entire country around solving the world's problem instead of, I don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to shut everything down so we don't move.
Yeah. And I think Keystone XL was a very good example of something that would help everybody, and was headed towards some new technologies and environmental standards. Not only being carbon neutral and or negative the moment that it was turned on, but also having a plan to operate the pipeline by using renewables, by wind and solar, was the last plan for Keystone XL, but it didn't matter to anybody. They just shut it down, right? But we absolutely need to do that. And I'll give him shout outs all the time, but it's the best way I've ever heard it said. And Brad Wall was being interviewed not long ago. This might have been almost a year ago. And the reporter that was doing it was trying to pin him into a corner, saying, shouldn't we be a leader in green technology or whatever? And I mean, Brad said it best. He just said, I think we should be a leader in all of it. We already are a world-class leader in oil and gas extraction. We have some of the strictest environmental regulations on the planet. We're one of the top exporters on the planet. Why don't we kick that into overdrive and keep showing everybody how we use carbon capture technology and all these different things that we do here in Canada? Like, the environmental process just to get a pipeline approved or to get an oil and gas lease approved is insane. And like, that's why there's so many people that won't invest in our energy industry in Canada, because it's so uncertain. But there are people here that will do it because they know once they get past that regulatory standard that's set, this is a good place to do business. And we have good labor laws, and we care about our environment and the people that work in it. And why can't we, like you say, why can't we do that same thing and incorporate some green energy with it? And that's where you see a lot of these green technologies, man. I was talking with a lady from Sundance Construction out of Gimli, Manitoba, who is lighting the world on fire with how she is building, not literally lighting it on fire, but how she's building. She's got some Norwegian designs going on. She's a Métis lady, and they are building entire housing developments, and they are doing it using specific designs, even the pitch of your house, on the way that your windows point when the sun is shining in the summer, on the tilt to the earth axis, so that you don't have to use as much air conditioning or no air conditioning whatsoever. They've got solar and wind combined. They've got some real cutting edge technology with their sewage systems and everything. And they're doing some very heavy insulating on the house. They're using high efficiency natural gas, and she basically brings everything together, and they make as low of a footprint as possible and don't really take away much for standards of living and design a house, where you get a lot of people that have the big lofted ceilings and a 4-car garage and everything, and they got themselves and 2 kids running around, but like they're realistic about what they're building. And she even says it's just like you are tied into Manitoba Hydro because you need baseload power. But when you have sun and wind blowing and everything can work, then you put the power that you're using back into the grid, right? But people that want to live off this stuff and just do it off battery storage and capacitors and things like that, it doesn't work. I mean, what's the temperature been in Lloyd over the last week?
You know, every time it hit minus 40 and I couldn't feel my ball sack, I think of QDM and go, here's a funny video, because it is minus 40. Like, yeah. But you know what? In saying that, when it hits minus 40, I go, man, I'm thankful to live where I do. I know that sounds bizarre to probably anyone in warmer climates, but when it gets cold around here, I just like what we have here is special. Like really special.
Yeah, it really is, man. And that's like, I guess getting back to the point of what we were trying to make there is that's like how Sundance Construction is building some of these things, that's how we need to look going forward. Yeah. And retrofit and make things better and use less fossil fuels by using renewable technology, while using renewable technology with the mindset that green doesn't mean I'm not making a carbon footprint. I needed cobalt and I needed all these different things to make my solar panels and to make these big, huge wind turbines that so far we can't recycle. We just bury when their life cycle is done. And the amount of concrete and steel and trucking capacity and cranes that it takes to get all this stuff out and get it set up. We can't be delusional to the point of saying, well, it's just zero emissions. And that's why you have to switch over to that technology. Well, it's not. And then in 20 to 30 years, when your solar panels are done and you got to replace them, we got to have a plan in place of what we're going to do with what we have right now to be environmentally responsible when we dispose of them. And then we have to have in our heads that we have to reabsorb that cost to replace those panels and to replace our wind turbines and everything. So like, that's something that never goes away either. So
you, sir, sound like a politician. Are you going into politics?
No, I'm not in any way, shape, or form. You can't have a guy that has YouTube videos that say keep your yard and your old lady plowed. You can't really have a guy like that going to politics, Sean.
Okay, well then I'll put it to you this way. You seem more reserved, and I would use the word mature on this episode, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very, like, you've done a ton of research by the sounds of it. Yeah. And it sounds like you have a bit of a plan.
Well, a big part of it, and like what we've been talking about, is you really need to look at things from your adversary's side to be able to understand. And like I say, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to understand why they're coming to it. And there's parts, if you put yourselves into a person's shoes that's trying to advocate for all these things, you're going to be like, I get what you're talking about here. You want to pollute less. And that's why I try and not get hung up on this whole climate change hysteria that's going on out there, because I mean, and that's why I get really upset with this thing where recently you hear an article or read an article that says that the prairies are warming 3 times faster than anywhere else on the planet. Okay. They're warming 3 times faster is what we're told, right? So I'm like, okay, hold on. I was told that this wasn't a global warming thing, that it's a climate change thing. So, okay, they're warming 3 times faster than anywhere else on the planet, prairies of Canada, right? So now here we are consecutively for how many days is the coldest place in the world. And now we're being told, no, it's climate change because that's extreme weather that you're experiencing. And that's what climate change is. And then I got another 3 or 4 different jackwagons that are trolling me all over the place that are like, oh, well, January was 5 degrees above normal for the entire month. And now if you take the last 2 weeks of weather that we've had here and average that and tag February onto January, well, now all of a sudden we're below average in both months. So like how far back and forth do you want to go with this before you're just like, okay, the weather's kind of the weather, and that's what it's going to be. There's going to be years where it is going to be dry. There's going to be years where it's going to be hot. There's going to be years where you get hailed out. There's going to be, come on, man. How many winters have I been through that I can remember where I have been outside in a t-shirt playing soccer with my brother? And then there's been winters where you are digging snow tunnels in the ditch that's 3 feet above your head. And you talk to a lot of old farmers that'll tell you a whole bunch of different stories about years and years gone by. And that's why, like, I try not to jump on the climate change bandwagon. And I'd rather be on the bandwagon of let's pollute less. Like, that's something that everybody can get on board with, you know, like let's pollute less. I can get on board with that. We're already doing it with combustion vehicles. Like, we have seen a drastic drop since the 70s in carbon emissions from vehicles. It's not because we've taken vehicles off the road. It's because we've got smarter. It's what humans do. We got smarter and we've adapted and we have changed how we burn fuel in our vehicles, and we are being more responsible about it, right? So it's just pollute less, let's do better. And the only way that I will reach any of these people, which I've said from the beginning when I started doing this quick take stuff, is I want people to know what's happening. We've got this whole big crew of alarmists that are trying to get rid of herds of cattle. And now you have extensive studies coming out showing that cattle are probably one of the best carbon capture devices that exist in the prairies, right? So you've just got all this different stuff coming at you. And typically it's coming from people that live urban, that believe that their steak comes from a grocery store shelf still, you know? So that's a wall we really need to get figured out how to break down to get people to understand. And still to this day, I'm shocked to people that message me from some of the kids stuff that I've done. It's been their parents that message me, be like, I had no idea that's where oats came from.
We talked about the kid videos last time.
Yeah, man. And I'm like, wow. Speaking of which there's more of those coming up too. It's just, it's taken a little time. And now, spoiler alert, I'm waiting for calving season, which is only a couple of weeks away because I got most of the other footage that I need for it. you probably know where this is headed, eh? There's going to be a parental warning off the start.
That's awesome. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, but like really though, and that's what I think is important to do with a lot of this stuff and that's why I've been doing so much research into this energy one that I have coming up, is because like I wanted to include everyone, because there's some research that guys like you and I need to see. I've needed to see what I saw, because same thing. I was very polarized and had my mind shut off to green energy and electric cars and everything. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with any of them, but I am going to bring to the table the good sides of the argument to it, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, is fair. And that's what I should be. Yeah.
I'm reading Klaus Schwab's book right now.
Oh, really? Are you?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Well, you know who Klaus Schwab is then, obviously.
Yeah.
For the listener, he is the head of the World Economic Forum. I should know that,
That's
right?
correct. Yeah.
And he's a big proponent of exactly what the governments are doing with how much money they're spending.
The Great Reset, right?
Yep, the Great Reset. Well, his book's COVID-19, The Great Reset. And I went, guys should just read it, right? It goes back to everything I've tried telling myself since I started this, and I just see it in you right now a lot. Is do your own research, be your own judge of the stuff, right? Like, it's easy to see a headline and just get absolutely torn apart by it. Like, what are we doing, right? It's happened to me. Yeah. Emotion is a crazy little thing. And
it really is. Yeah.
And I heard you guys talk the last episode with Vance was about the social dilemma. And if you haven't watched that yet, if you haven't, if a listener has not watched that, or a viewer has not watched that, you need to shut this off and go watch that. That's way more important than what we're talking about, because it'll fill you in on a lot of things. Because
it totally is. There's a few things on there that that I was like, okay, yeah, I get it, kind of thing. And like that's another thing. I guess the funny thing about The Social Dilemma is a documentary that's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And something you really got to be careful of is documentaries that they allow to go on Netflix, and a few different things. There's another one out there called Kiss the Ground. And that's narrated by Woody Harrelson, and it goes through regenerative farming. And I was a little bit shocked on that one because I personally, and I mean, I'm going off of myself and a group of my peers that are much, much smarter and better at agriculture than I ever am, ever will be. I learn 10 things a day from these guys because everybody does know. I mean, I haven't been in the seat of a tractor since I was 4 years old. I mean, I got a lot of oil field and trucking experience and cattle experience. I've just kind of been all over the place. I'm no professional at agriculture, right? But there's some of the things in this Kiss the Ground one that's showing that glyphosates and herbicides and pesticides and GMOs and fertilizers are all killing the world, and we're going to turn the planet into a desert kind of thing. I think is what they were headed for there. And they do some crafty camera work when they're showing one guy that's farming versus his neighbor that's farming, that's using glyphosates, and then he's using pigs and chickens and a bunch of different things to sequester carbon in his land and everything. And I would caution everybody that's watching that. There's a lot of farmers listening to this that, that'll probably be like, no, we kind of caught that. Is just that there's, there's only so much arable land on planet Earth, and we have to grow X amount of food in that arable land to feed the world, right? So you need X bushels per acre of arable land to be able to provide a growing population and growing food demand in the world. And I'm not saying anything bad against organic farming. I know guys that organic farm around here. It's hard for them. They work very hard at it. It's a roll of the dice. And there's guys out there that that are honest about what they're getting for yields off their crops, and there's guys that aren't. And I mean, I work right around a few of them, right around the Tufnell area here, and I know what they are. And these guys put a lot of work into this, and it's just, we need so many bushels an acre, and that's basically the end of the story. Like there's just, it's cool, and I love the idea of regenerative farming and soil health and everything, but that's why we have inputs that we put into everything that we do, is to keep our soil healthy and to keep crops growing. And yes, there's a carbon footprint to that as well. So it kind of circles back to we're going to pollute to live. It's, unless we go back to one family living on one quarter section everywhere across the entire country of Canada, and everybody goes in with their 2 or 3 chickens a year to the farmer's market and sells them to people or whatever. Like, we need mass food production because we all have to live, right?
98 years ago, the 98-year-old I interviewed said, "What do you remember about the 20s?" And he said, "The only thing I can remember," and he was, pretty, he had to think about it. Obviously, it's 98 years ago, or 90 years ago, whatever. He said for probably the first 10 to 15 years of his life, he doesn't remember money. They sold cream and I think it was eggs. Cream, eggs, milk to get anything they needed.
Straight up. Yeah.
Turned their car into something pulled by the horse because it just sat there and rusted because they didn't have money for gas.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, we've come a long ways, and like, even, I always go back to it, and I don't know why, but just look at your grocery stores. I'm not trying to plug co-op or anything like that, but like, I'm a big advocate of co-op grocery stores because
great fruit.
Yeah. Like, co-op's a very, very good supporter of local businesses and made in Canada products.
And I can only speak for Lloyd. I can't speak for all the co-op. They are big supporters of our elderly, like huge supporters of our elderly, which is super cool.
That's awesome. They're community supporters, and that's why I was. Oh man, we're sidetracking really hard here right now. Did you hear what the city council of Regina did?
You know what I got written down? On Wednesday, the committee voted 7-4 in favor of bringing forward changes that would put fossil fuels in the same light as tobacco, pot, and weapons. And Daniel LeBlanc, Ward 6 councillor, is the guy who still is pushing for it. But I do like Scott Moe's decision, a call of it, saying that it was absurd.
Yeah, man. Was pornography not included in that as well?
This article didn't say pornography, but I have read one that did say it. So I left it out because I was kind of like, yeah.
Either way, I have never in my life heard something like that. Like I said, I get everyone's green movement and all this different things, but these are people that are trying to vilify oil and gas companies, and these people that are trying to vilify them, I just want you to go to your basement and tell me what's heating your house. That's it. Because if it's a house in the city of Regina, there's a really good chance that you're running on natural gas. The food we just mentioned, co-op, if you are going down to your grocery store and you're going to buy food there, please tell me you walked or rode a bike. Don't tell me you drove an electric car, because if you're driving an electric car, oil and gas is probably charging it in Saskatchewan. And if you buy it from a temperature controlled grocery store, there's oil and gas that's powering that as well. And if you're buying an item off the shelf, it was oil and gas that brought it to you on a commercial truck. And it was oil and gas that produced it at the production facility. And it was oil and gas that planted it and harvested it out of the field. So it's just, and I sound like a broken record when I do that stuff, but I mean, and I get if people want to be like, we want to promote and help green companies advertise better. I get that. But to vilify oil and gas companies it's just, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe. And the fact that it was 7-4, I was just like, are we serious right now? Could you imagine being a kid of a dad who works at FCL refinery in Regina, who's like, Dad, do you think you guys could sponsor my hockey? Or sorry, no, hockey teams it wouldn't have affected because it was just City of Regina advertising. But let's say it was a kid trying to get sponsorship that was going to go on a City of Regina building or something like that. And you would have to tell your kid, no, I can't, because FCL is not allowed to advertise on city property. And the kid would go, well, why? Be like, well, because they think oil and gas is bad. The job that puts food on your table, that puts the roof over your head, that heats your house, that dad works tirelessly at to make it all happen, I guess is just the same as a pot shop. How's this a thing? Like, yeah, I couldn't believe it, man. But like, that's the side of people that we really need to try and bring a little bit back to the center of the game. You know what I mean? Because they're just so lost in this whole debacle.
I don't even know if I can say anything. To be honest, for it to happen in Saskatchewan blew me away. It really did. I was like, Dad showed me it. I was like, what now? Like, that sounds like it's some false news thing going on, right? Nope. That is definitely,
I thought that it was misprinted, and then it was supposed to say Gatineau, Quebec or something like that, right?
Or that it was clickbait, right? You click on it and
and you got to a porn site and everything. That happens to you too, right? Yeah. Just checking. Yeah. Awkward. But yeah, so it's crazy. And that's man, in a nutshell, that's kind of where things are headed a little bit. And
so you're if I caught that right, then off everything that's been said, you're trying to get into a way of helping bring the other side to the discussion table.
Yeah.
Because that is the only way we move forward, where we don't do silly things. And we both want similar things, but part of the conversation needs to be that understanding that oil and gas is going to be here for a while. I can't sit here and say that.
I would sit here and say it's always going to be here, just not at the capacity that we use it. But I mean, you should never say always, and you should never say never, right? Is something that I've learned in my life. So yes, we're going to keep working towards technologies that's going to carry us away from it. But yeah, and anything even farm and food related right now, I mean, we are decades upon decades away from moving away from oil and gas. That's how we eat. Right?
Am I just going nuts here? Am I picking up on you either have a job somewhere, you're going to be representing something, you're just releasing the same stuff?
Yeah, no, like I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. I'm not representing anybody, and nobody pays me to do any of this shit. Like nothing. I'm just doing my thing, man. This is still a straight up side hustle that I'm working here. If you want to call it a side hustle. But like,
I'm waiting for like the Pepsi logo in the background, eh?
No, man.
The UDM circle's got the blue and
Deez has been getting a free run here, I guess. I never even noticed that till you said it. Hey, thanks, Kale, for printing my sign and for making my hats, I guess. But no, man, no side hustle, no nothing. It's just like this is.
Hey, I want to be very clear. You just you have a different vibe tonight. It's not a bad vibe. It's just to me, it seems like a more focused. Like you got something in the works, and you've thought about it a lot. You've obviously done a lot of research, and you're like, nope, this is where it's going, and this is what I'm going to try. And do.
Well, and like I'm not going to say that every production is going to go that way. I'm saying that I will be doing one production. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of an experiment too, because like just the same as there's some very, very, very far. It makes me want to puke using the words left and right.
I agree.
But I'm going to use them for an example. There's some people that are on the very, very, very far left end of the spectrum. Some people that are on the very, very, very far right end of the spectrum. And I think that I have people on the far right end of the spectrum that follow me a lot closer than people on the left end of the spectrum do or whatever. And I mean, I could continue to just put stuff up that's going to bash Trudeau, which I promise you I will, because he will be bashed until he's out of power and then long thereafter, because I am not done with that guy, because I can't stand him. And I think he does a horrible job at running the country. And I think he's a disgusting human being, but that's just me.
My wife, who's an American, is driving home from Lashburn, or before she drove home from Lashburn. It's minus whatever outside. The wind's howling, and she sends me, "It's so cold in Canada. We think we saw Trudeau with his hands in his own pockets." I love her.
God bless her. Yeah. I see why you married her. Yeah, that's all good. But no, really, that guy is a mule. But no, it's just I would hope, and there's going to be some people. I'll lose some followers over it. Maybe, I'm not sure, but like I would hope that people are going to watch my stuff and watch it to the end. And a part of this is going to be like, hey, greenies, you guys need to come this way a little bit. But it's also going to grab that guy that posts videos of himself just rolling a 5-inch stack of coal out of his HD jacked up Duramax on Snapchat with a insignia on it called "Fuck You, Greta" or whatever. I want to talk to those guys too, because as long as we've got people that are on all these different ends of the spectrum or whatever, I'm not saying that I haven't done that in my life. I'm not going to say I'm some kind of an angel, because everyone would know that I was full of shit. Right? But I just want, yeah, man, I just want people to talk a little bit better about what's going on. And I still think that no matter what you put up, you're like, I'm still going to bash things that happen in the news and politics and everything. There's a lot of people that watch me for that, right? But I hope that in the last little while that people have seen that there's another side to me that doesn't just have to be politics or riding on the current news events or stuff like that. And like that was kind of a bigger thing when I put that song "Nippy" out. I was like, yeah, how do you think this is gonna go? And
wondering right now what your next follow-up single is to "Nippy" myself.
Well, like, it's funny. I've had a lot of people ask that. I'm like, you know what? Like that's definitely a direction you could take some of this stuff in. You know what? Another one I had fun doing was that, like, it's just those short, quick dick pics that I put on like Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. But that one called "Some Bitch," like, I had fun making that, man, because it doesn't take me that long to make them, and like it's real, true grit, real life stuff. you know, and I think that shit's fun, man. I really do.
I got a lot of favorites, but I still love because so I had a podcast about 3-4 ago where had two guys on from town, and I was very fired up that night. I must have dropped. I apologized at the start of the podcast. Like I probably dropped 100 F-bombs. Like I was fired up.
So you were saucy.
I was saucy, and my mom called. And every time, all I'm going with this, every time you go, sorry, Mom, I'm like, God dang, if I don't say that all the time, because, if I drop one F-bomb, I'm getting a phone call, which, I love you, Mom.
So you should. We love you, moms. Thank you for taking care of us.
And putting up with our shit, right?
Okay, do you want you know what? Let's take a break and let's talk about a funny mom story here.
Okay, sure.
Okay. All right. So I was super hungover the other day, like exponentially hungover, which is kind of hilarious because so with COVID restrictions right now, I'm confined in my workplace, which is the bar ranch, and I have one cohort because I'm a single guy, or one household that I can go to, which obviously is my parents, which are out in Tufnell, and so I just we had a bad day, broke a glass door on the 7520 because the wind ripped the bastard off, and it was one of those days. And when the day was over, there were several vodkas put down the hatch. She was a rough day the next day. But last summer when we did the garden, we talked about the garden and canning. You and I have talked about this before. We're going to do something called Salsa Sunday with my mom. She's got all these frozen tomatoes and we're going to make salsa. And I managed to drag my ass out of bed, and I go out there and I am hurting bad to the point. And guess what my job is? It's like I'm a kid again. You get the shittiest job when you get out there. I figured maybe I could run the pots and spice stuff and everything. No, my job is to peel fucking tomatoes. What kind of a bullshit job is peeling tomatoes?
I didn't even know you could peel tomatoes.
Well, I'll tell you, when they're frozen, you scald them, and then you basically peel the skin off them, then core them, and then you chop them, and you put them in the salsa or whatever, and then you boil them. And I got to the point where I was leaning on the kitchen sink, one tomato at a time, considering vomiting into the sink. I was in rough shape, man. And she won't say anything, right? Because that would mean she would be assuming something, right? She'll never assume anything. She'll always just get the straight goods. Well, the old man comes in. It's 3 p.m. now. And I've been suffering through 4 hours of salsa making, which honestly, I learned a kick-ass salsa recipe, obviously from Mom, who's a veteran at it.
QDM salsa coming at you soon.
Yeah, we'll maybe have a cooking with Quick Dick episode come on. I can't get her to do a cooking episode with me because she won't let me put her face in it. But anyways, BMA comes in from the yard. He's plowing the yard. BMA comes in, walks up, looks at me, pats me on the back. Looks like you need a Saskatchewan prairie fire. And I was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Absolutely. He's like, okay, well, Saskatchewan prairie fire is a Great Western Pilsner, Clamato juice, pickle juice, Tabasco, roll it in, a little bit of pepper in there. And he fixed me. He cured me instantly on the spot with this belly Band-Aid. And at this point in time,
Mom didn't have to. That is
belly Band-Aid, man. So at this point in time, Mom, there's no more assumptions. And now she's mad at me. I knew it. I knew you were hungover. And you just wouldn't say it. And you're just standing there, you're suffering through all this stuff. And you had to be drinking last night and da-da-da-da-da. And BMA just sitting back. Leave the boy alone. He had a few drinks last night. But wouldn't call me on it. Not one bit. The old man comes in and he knows it and he doesn't even give a shit. He's just like, here, have a belly Band-Aid. You'll feel better. And he was right. We had several. I felt better instantly. So.
God, belly Band-Aid. That is great.
Oh, yeah, man. Hey, that's another Saskatchewanism. Hey, you know what? There's another episode of What's That Word?
100%.
So 100%. I did what's that word? We did some bitch. And then What's That Word was nippy, which turned into a rap. So we got to do What's That Word belly band-aid. And I actually, right before we hopped on here, I was actually just finishing off another What's That Word.
What's the word?
But the word is windy today.
Windy today.
Windy today. Got a few examples of windy today.
You know, I don't know if my mom loves me telling stories about her, but I love my mother. So I hope by me saying
love our mothers,
I hope by saying I love her multiple times, she won't get offended when after the episode where I dropped way too many F-bombs. I even knew I dropped way too many F-bombs. She called me and was giving me the gears and said, "What would Jesus think?" And I said, "You know what, Mom? If Jesus was here right now and Trudeau was his leader, he'd say, 'What the fuck is wrong with that guy?'" And no, I didn't say what the fuck is wrong. I said he would have dropped an F-bomb. And you know what? She laughed for a quick second and then scolded me. And I'm like, see, I know you know. I know you know.
You just got to get that little snicker out of him. You don't have to hear him say it. You just
That's right.
Get that
That's
reaction
right.
out of him,
That was kind of funny.
Yeah. Man, that guy really is a bum. We're headed for issues. I've started referring to his cabinet as the Cabinet Patch Kids, because it is literally like you're watching a fucking elementary school in Ottawa right now, and it's troubling, like in a big
troubling.
Way.
That's a great word. The reason why I was so fired up, that would have been like a week ago, was because there was the list just kept growing with the people coming back from travel, right? They put in that rule after all the politicians get caught traveling. They put in the rule of these isolation hotels, and then you just start seeing the video after video after video of all these people. I'm going like, it does not help that I'm reading the Gulag Archipelago right now, which is all about Russia and man, there's some eerie things in there to where our society is at right now, which I understand we're 100 years in advance to where the Russia was at 100 years ago. And I find it like there's some things going on that are just troubling, like you say.
Yeah. I think the bigger thing, and we saw his, their polling is starting to fall here now finally, but it took an absolute and complete bastardized vaccine rollout to make it
get
happen.
It there.
But not the WE scandal, not SNC Lavalin.
You got to understand. I tell you what, though, I'll say this to this: is everyone goes like free money? Oh, he's just paying everyone off. It's not that. It's like in the scariest of scary times, nobody is complaining about not having enough money to get food or whatever else. And that, for a long time, it feels like people were willing to overlook a lot. Not here, because, man, we just keep getting kicked. Like every time you think you're getting up, they cancel another pipeline, and you're like,
man.
Well, and we haven't even talked about what's the one under Lake Michigan?
Line 5?
Enbridge, right?
Enbridge Line 5, man. Yeah, that's.
But that won't affect us. It will, but it
will, man, because that is still our oil and gas products that are going to Eastern Canada by way of the United States of America. Like I feel like maybe that's kind of the reason that I'm looking to change how I do some of these videos, because you go back. It's not working. These are all horses that I've beat already. Like I've beat the carbon tax horse twice. I've beat pipelines so many times. You just beat all this stuff all the time. And I'm not a guy that wants. There's a lot of people that are jumping on the train of just let them shut it down and let Ontario and Quebec suffer. And I'm like, why does it have to come to that? Like, why does it have to come to that? Now, don't get me wrong. BMA made sure that when I learned a lesson as a kid, I learned it, sorry, Mom, the fucking hard way. Like, he either set you up to fail and watched you fail, but he was there to catch you all the time. Don't get me wrong here. Like, I'm not saying that he was, like, he knew what he was doing when he was doing it. Whether it was giving you a chew of snuff to chew and swallow the juice, or to smoke a cigarette and stuff like that, you learned early how terrible this shit is. But Like, why does it have to come to that? I just don't want it to, right? And to be honest, there shouldn't be any reason we're not a sovereign nation as Canada, and that we can't power every province that we have and get our resources to every province that we have. There's no reason, and there's no reason we shouldn't be able to get any of our natural resources to 10 different ports on coastal waters to market it to the world. But
you're talking about dealing with reasonable, I don't think reasonable people. I think if you flew over to talk to the common people, I think there'd be a lot of people who'd be, but you're not. And sometimes the worst has to happen. And that's what I think we all fear that. I think every person sitting in the middle, not on the extremes, goes like, this is what we're going to do. Like, yeah, man, this is a pretty scary little situation we got going here. Yeah. Like, this is how it's going to.
Yeah, it really is. But I mean, for the simple fact, another, you know who a great guy to talk to about pipeline related events specifically? Have you ever heard of a guy named Brian Zinchuk?
Brian Zinchuk. He used to write for Pipeline News, and then Pipeline News shut down, and now he's doing some political coverage. Did you go on his podcast?
No, he doesn't have a podcast. He did an article with me.
Article. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah. But
I read it.
That guy's very knowledgeable on the intricacies of pipeline systems in Canada and how they run into the U.S. And he's got some really neat theories on the diameter of the pipe's different size and a lot of different stuff. But I mean, Enbridge has been through the vetting process for Energy East. They spent $1 billion on it, applying to get this pipeline done. That
only $1 billion
was, to eventually to the tune of Trudeau just saying, no, you can't do it, right? But that was kind of the thing with this Keystone XL is, I mean, I think Keystone's 36. It's either Keystone's 36 and Energy East was supposed to be 48, or vice versa, 46 and or 36 and 48. The diameter is not quite right, but apparently, from what he was telling me, which is more stuff that I need to look into yet, but where Energy East stopped is still not too far past the point where you could still use it as kickoff to roll into Energy East, right? Something that there's a lot of the paperwork existing to be able to get done, and that a company has invested a substantial amount of capital into for the pre-planning portion of it. And I just don't know why. Well, I mean, I know why. There's obviously a whole bunch of different companies that are funding organizations to keep our energy from reaching our coastlines, but it just, none of it makes sense. I hate the fact that we're just gonna, if Line 5 shuts, we're just gonna ramp up shipments from Venezuela, Saudi, Russia, US. Everything's gonna keep coming in. You're gonna see a whole bunch. Guess who's gonna suffer the worst? It's gonna be the farming community that's in Ontario and Quebec that rely on propane to run their grain dryers. It's gonna be airports. It's gonna be all these things that people forget that we use. And it's going to be a hard lesson now. So like, there's a few different things going on how much energy is supplied down south of the line from Ontario, Quebec kind of thing too. So there's some retaliations that we could take if Line 5 is closed. But I mean, why do we continue to fight like this instead of just being like, I would have thought we have learned our lesson years and years ago, just be like, no, you know what? We're going to get ourselves self-sufficient, like Mr. Wall has said on his amazing interview that I just can't retweet and like enough kind of thing. It's just that we just need to be leaders in all of it. We need to show the world that this is what we can do and this is what we're going to do. And we need to ramp up nuclear energy. We need to do it here in the prairie provinces. Like, if everyone wants to keep moving towards this electric car movement and everything, which batteries and electric cars, everything they have a carbon footprint too. They're not the answer to the prayers. And I'll tell you what, if I had an electric car in the weather that we've had over the last week, I would have been doing a lot of snowmobiling to get back and forth to where I needed to go. But like, until we just say, no, we're going to do this. So we're going to make it affordable for businesses to do business and produce products in Canada for Canadians. And once we're looked after, we're going to start shipping this stuff out to the rest of the world. And we're going to stop bringing products in from China. Communist China, we are going to stop bringing products in from them.
So then my question always comes back to, and I asked you this the first time we sat down, the first time being the one that never got aired, episode 0, because this guy was a moron.
Episode 0. I love it too.
Yeah. For the listeners who don't know, Quick Dick have sat down 4 times. The first time Sean didn't press record, and so we talked to each other and got to know each other for nobody to know.
Yeah, we had a good bullshit anyways. It was good though, right?
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Why isn't Brad Wall in politics then? Here's my question to you quick. Don't you need to be, isn't the way to change what's going on being in politics?
Yeah, it is to a certain extent, but I mean, I think the important thing for everybody to realize is that, so like you have a career leading up to the term of Premier of Saskatchewan, right? And Mr. Wall served for 10 years as Premier of Saskatchewan, but you have to look at the career leading up to that as well, which is it is a long time in the trenches of politics. It is. And when you look at politics, it's gross, man. Like
I agree.
It's gross, and you have people that hate on you for a long time, and I think he had the opportunity to pass it off to Mr. Moe. The timing was right, and they did it. I think it was the right time for him to do it too. I was hoping that there would be a part of him that was in the background, ready to take a run at Prime Minister. But you've got to understand, man, you would be sitting down in front of a firing squad, especially if you were a very well-respected premier of Western Canada that's going to go down and start calling shots in Eastern Canada. That would be a tough win. That would be a very tough win to be able to get Quebec and Ontario on your side. And I think you would have had a lot of brushing up on his Francais to do. To be able to do it, because that's a requirement. And I think that was one of the bigger downfalls of Ms. Lewis, Leslyn Lewis, that did not win the Conservative leadership race is her French needs a little bit of work. And like, we all got to be honest, is one of the biggest things that needs to change is election reform in Canada. But you need to win Quebec and Ontario. Unfortunately, the rest of the country just doesn't matter. If you don't win Quebec and Ontario, you might as well throw the towel in. Right.
I agree.
Which is shitty. I
want to point this out. I have no hard feelings on Brad Wall. I don't understand. To me, listen, if today Sean Newman goes, I think I could do a good job in politics, which I'm not so sure I could do. And people could take this for what they want. I don't know if I get votes anyways. I'd have to for sure get a tooth put in, because I don't think I've seen a toothless politician. I could be wrong on that. Probably strong pull in Saskatchewan. And other than that, I might be hooped. Anyways, knowing that though, let's say one of us is the right guy. Just being the right guy doesn't mean that 2 years you're the premier of Saskatchewan. You got to put in time.
Yeah, it's huge, man. Yeah.
Right. So you look around, you see the world going to hell. It needs a calming voice to just be like, listen, this, and just explain things. And all I always bring up with Brad Wall is when I listen to him, I go like, there is such a well-spoken guy who gets it, who can go back and forth. And maybe I'm wrong on all of it, but we don't, from my eyes, and maybe you know of somebody who's sitting there, but I haven't seen one, which means we're going to have a tough time winning the next election. Or having somebody other than Trudeau win the election. That's all I'm getting at, right? And so you go, so what are we doing here? We're just going to go, politics is tough, and it takes a long time, and you get put in front of the fire. Well, I mean, we keep going the way we're going quick. We're going to have, what are we going to be doing?
It's not going to be fantastic. And that's why, man, I was really pulling for Leslyn Lewis to win the Conservative Party race.
She checked a lot of boxes, and
she won Saskatchewan, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I hear you, and like that's kind of a problem that I've got right now. Is there's like, who do you really vote for in the federal government right now? I mean, I like the fact that O'Toole has got some military experience, and that there's a chance that he'll do a better job of standing up to China than Trudeau is doing. But he's he's still in a spot where we're gonna have to lay some carpet out to Eastern Canada, and I don't know exactly where he stands. I've heard some good things. I've heard him on Gormley a few times, and he had some good ideas to handle the carbon tax and some different ideas of how it would be a carbon tax. And let's get together with 700 of the largest emitters in Canada and work with them and get a plan together. And like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to hear. But yeah, I guess I don't get the warm and fuzzies from him. You know what I mean? and that's the best chance we've got right now of getting Trudeau out, which, I mean, is, as far as I'm concerned, is just the most important thing we do.
Yeah, I hear you.
It breaks my heart because I'd love to see Brad Wall go and do it, because you're right. He speaks well. You don't back him into a corner. He's got an answer for you. And he's got a level head on his shoulders. And I think the biggest thing that we could see that would bring this country together would be some actual Western Canada representation in Ottawa. And instead of it being Western and Eastern Canada, I'd love for it to just be Canada. You know what I mean? But
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but it's just not right now. And I think that's the hardest thing about all of this shit that's going on right now is this is a country that really needs each other. You know, there's a lot of great things that come out of Eastern Canada. And, you know, we have a lot of our steel and aluminum, in Eastern Canada. There's a lot of manufacturing in Eastern Canada. And there's a lot of tech in Eastern Canada. I'm not saying that all of that's not here in Western Canada either, but primarily we're bringing a lot of the food and fuels to the game, and then alternatively you see a lot of these other things coming from our eastern partners, and even on the west coast of BC and things like that, you know. But it's all and then you get into our territories with our rare earth mines and a lot of different things. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that really fits together and works very well in this country. But you just gotta get figured out how to make it so that we can all kind of get along and respect each other, which is kind of something that over the last, you know, couple of decades you can really see kind of falling apart, which is shitty. Because this country's awesome. I love Canada. I'll love Canada till I die, man. I'm still proud to be Canadian. I'd be a lot prouder without that asshat that's running the country, but that's just me, right?
Yeah, that's more than just you. I just come back to, I can't get around, I call it a paradox, is the only way we get out of this is with good politicians. But none of the good politicians want to run because of the firing squad. It's like, well, at some point that has to change. And I'm sure there's good politicians, although I'm not wiping everything with one brush.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
As we sit here right now, the two major leaders of Canada, right, the opposition and the government, like the Liberals, right? Nobody likes Trudeau, at least over here. And I mean, his popularity, like you say, is falling.
Mm-hmm.
O'Toole's, I don't know. When you say he doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies, man, is that any other better way of a small town Saskatchewan just saying, I just, I don't love the guy, right? Like that's cool to say. And so I just look at it and I go, so we're another 4 years away from whatever, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely, man. But I mean, it's, and I guess like the other thing too, like that I will say is, I mean, when you get into politics and you wind up with a career in politics, I've heard a lot of guys say is that you get thick skin, and that eventually, like the firing squad, it's like you're wearing a bulletproof vest. Eventually, you don't let it hit your heart, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And you kind of get over it. You make your decision and you go with it. But I mean, like on the other hand of it, I wouldn't want to be a politician right now. I wouldn't want to be Scott Moe or Jason Kennedy or anybody, like, because no matter what you do is wrong, especially right now during COVID or whatever. Right. So yeah, it's crazy times. And honestly, I feel bad for anybody that is in that position right now, trying to steer their ship through the pandemic here. Except Trudeau, I don't feel bad for him because he was doing a horrendously shitty job before COVID ever came along. So I still dislike him greatly.
On a completely side tangent, and I don't know what you feel about Aunt Jemima, but today it got its name changed.
Really, eh?
Yep. Aunt Jemima is now, well, let me see if I can find it here. Pearl Milling Company Original. But I will say this because I'm sure there's somebody listening that is outraged at that because I grew up with Aunt Jemima. Don't know the backstory to it. I just love the syrup. Like I just, what kid doesn't love that syrup, right? But here's the story I read, and I'm as Byron Christopher told me, and you would like that episode. You should go back one. You want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll go check it out.
On a side note, you want to talk about doing all the editing, whatever. So I get my 150th episode out. It's Byron Christopher. The story is amazing. Let me tell you, it is amazing. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever done.
Check it out.
And then my mic, I don't know what I did in the editing software, but I sound like this. You can't really hear me.
Oh, no, that sucks, man.
So then I had to spend all last night re-editing. So now it's all good again. But the first however many people that read it or heard it were probably like, what the hell is this guy doing? But Byron Christopher sounded awesome. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But he crazy stories. Anyways, he said one of his things he said is be your own editor. He said, be your own editor. And so I was like, man, Aunt Jemima, that sucks. But then I read a couple things and it said Aunt Jemima is based on the common enslaved terminology, mommy archetype. And the term aunt and uncle in the context was a Southern form of address used with older enslaved peoples. And you go, yeah, I'm not for generalizing everything, but when you know the backstory, you're like, I know our society gets butthurt about everything, but that one's probably like, you're like, yeah, fuck, right? Like they're talking about an enslaved older woman, and that's who the syrup was.
Okay, you know what? I didn't know that, and I'm going to look right at you and be perfectly honest and tell you that I don't give a shit.
I agree. I don't either.
I really don't, because you know what? We've talked this before. People,
you still don't give a shit. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I know. There's people that have accused me of being racist and misogynistic and everything or whatever.
But let's
and
be
blah,
very
blah, blah.
clear.
You're gonna get that forever.
Fuck them, quick dick.
No, I hear you.
I would say 99.9% of people who watch your stuff, male, female, or dog, or whatever they genderify with, I'm telling you, your shit isn't even remotely racist. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. And then it doesn't get to me, but the point that I'm trying to make here is when I grew up as a kid, I did not that was not in my head. And it's still not in my head today. And it wouldn't be in my head today when I look at that bottle of syrup, because I was raised that when I looked at that bottle of syrup, I saw the picture of the lady on the syrup jug. I did not have a racial thought in my head. I was like, that's got to be the lady that made this syrup, and it's fucking delicious. That's how I was raised as a kid, and that's how I still am today. And now we want to take somebody that traces this all back, and this is why it was named this and that or whatever. Have you got nothing fucking better to do with your time than to go back and see how we're possibly offending somebody by having a picture of a black lady on a jug of syrup? You are a damaged individual if that's what you're trying to go back and do, because I am a privileged white guy in the middle of Saskatchewan, which apparently people try and label as the most racist province in Canada and everything, which I get tired of hearing. And still to this day, that's all I remember as a kid, because my fucking parents raised me properly. And when I looked at that, I was like, that's just a beautiful lady that made this delicious syrup for me to enjoy on these pancakes. And I'm having a great day today. I'm
glad it took me until an hour and a half to get Quick Dick fired up. Fucking A.
I'm back, baby. But really though, that's one thing that I can't stand, is cancel culture shit that's going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
John A. McDonald statue being torn down and all this stuff. I get a lot of the things that happened up to this point in time in our lives. There's some people that did some things that were horrendously bad. When you go back to that point in time, that's unfortunately kind of how things were at that point in time. I know John A. McDonald did some terrible things, but he also did some good things. And if somebody wants to make a point out of a statue or out of Aunt Jemima or something like that, why don't you take that of what you're trying to cancel out Aunt Jemima? Instead of that, why don't you take that as a learning opportunity and put a sticker on the back of the fucking maple syrup jug, or the syrup jug? It's not maple syrup, it's just regular syrup. Put it on the back of the jug and be like, here's the story, and this is how it was. And we decided to leave this name here to tell people that this was a bad way that we dealt with this, or this is how we referred to people back then, kind of thing. And why can't you turn it into a story of change? Because I have literally sat and ate a ton of pancakes with that syrup jug in front of me as a kid, reading the ingredients on it, because there wasn't any TV to watch or anything like that. And you're just sitting there, and I didn't want to talk to my asshole brothers because we've been fighting for a little while. So I just want to sit there and eat my pancakes. And I sat there and read the ingredients to this. Well, why don't you have a story for me to read on the back of how Aunt Jemima's not the greatest name, but we left it there so that you could learn that this is what it meant? Because the information you just gave me is something I did not know. And I think that would be a great learning opportunity for me. But no, let's just erase all of it like nothing ever happened. It's ridiculous.
Okay, I want to say this. Is when I researched it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, right? So now I'm kind of like, okay, I was going to be mad about Aunt Jemima changing his name because I'm like you. I grew up and I'm just a kid. And kids look at it and see what they want to see and carry on. You raise a very, 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 very good point. That is, why not have, instead of canceling everything out so we don't remember where we came from, why not have it on the back of the bottle or part of their thing that this is where it came from? And this isn't right, but this is where it came from.
Yeah, man.
It brings up the Edmonton Eskimos, actually.
Oh, you get out of my head, because that's where I was going to next.
Well, I just to me, the football club, like, I mean, shit. I remember thinking, I'm going to go back to Aunt Jemima for a second. I remember thinking as a kid, I wonder who she was. Like, who the hell was Aunt Jemima? But there was no internet. There's no TV. There's none of this. So you couldn't, I mean, maybe you could, I don't know. Where would you would have researched that? I actually don't know the answer to that, but maybe you could have found that somehow. I don't know. But chances are you could.
Jesus, like if I would read that story on the back of a bottle of Aunt Jemima syrup, I'd go buy another one. Just because I was like, shit, I learned something. No, I mean, because the syrup's delicious, obviously, but buy another one.
But maybe you're hitting on something here. Maybe if there's some big companies out there that have tuned into the Sean Newman podcast and they're sitting there going, well, we got a big choice coming up. Maybe there's a way you can spin it and be like, you know what? Eskimos, I understand and offend some people, but in saying that, they freaking went and got damn it. I don't know.
Here's, leading up to each game, here is an Inuit person of Canada or an Eskimo fact or whatever, and we can go through a fact before each game or at halftime or this
of why we're proud.
The Edmonton Eskimos proud to support our Inuit people of Canada or whatever. What the fuck is wrong with that? I would sit and you know what? Like, one thing that I miss seeing the Hinterland Who's Who on CBC, because it's telling me something about my country that I didn't know. I'll go through the loon or the beaver or this or that. And like, I mean, why can't we do with all this shit? We're just going to keep canceling everything, and canceling people is not what we should be doing.
No kid under 25, maybe older than that, knows anything of what you just said. That's been gone for a long time, hasn't it?
I think it has, but I miss it. Oh man, I miss it terribly. That just gave me actually a great idea for an upcoming Quick Dick episode.
Good. I'm glad I can spark on some things, but I honestly think you're onto something there, because when I read it, my brain, it's funny you get called a racist. I get at times called a liberal because I'm liberal in my views.
Which one's worse, man?
Honestly, I was just like, just because I'm willing to see the other side and like listen to it and be like, well, I can kind of get it, but hearing you talk, I go, that's why it's good to talk to people, because it's like, why can't we have this as a learning lesson? And that would be more beneficial to have the story of Aunt Jemima than to say we're now called the Pearl Milling Company. And
just cancel it.
And for the next 100 years, nobody's going to know that it was named after a slave and why they did that. And that was terrible. But, right? Like,
yeah. And then you get a product like that. You get a lot of strong products like that. I mean, that's not something that's going to go away anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like, that's your chance to like. So okay, well, let me ask you this then, because I don't know. So what's up with Uncle Ben's rice? Then are they going to change that too?
Oh, guaranteed. I guaranteed they're gonna. Guaranteed they will.
And like, I'm not trying to be a racist. I'm just like, that's what just popped into my mind here now. But like why do we change this stuff instead of just like, yeah, I just don't get it, man. This whole, you just got to cancel it. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. Well, I get that a lot of things might've been bad, but if we don't learn from them, if we don't teach our future generation about them, are we just going to wind up repeating them or what?
I don't know. The first thing I did was like, screw it. I'm gonna Google Uncle Ben, because I guarantee we can get to the bottom of this. And but actually, well, here I'll read you it and see if anything sparks you. In the 1910s, the German-British scientist and chemist Erich, I'm not going to try and pronounce that name, Husenblad. That was terrible. And the British scientist and chemist Francis Heron Rogers invented a form of parboiling designed to retain more of nutrients in rice, known as something, the process vacuum, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm just trying to
so they're paraboiling rice because the cook time of it's insanely long or whatever. So you paraboil it, then dry it out, and then it cuts your cook time like in half or a third or whatever when you go to boil it again, right?
Well, that's why I got you on. You're the expert.
Well, not very much, but I do know what paraboiling is. Yeah, because I can't remember it. I think I come across that word once, and I was like, "In the hell is paraboiling?"
It's been around since 1943. That's a long time.
Damn, man. You know what? I thought it would have been older than that, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Neat. But anything about it being canceled yet?
Nothing about it being canceled, to be honest. But wouldn't it? In saying that, the deeper you dig, the deeper you dig.
Yeah.
The next article says, for faces behind Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, cream of wheat, life transcended stereotype. That's the article.
Cream of wheat. What's going to happen to Quaker Oats? Are they going to have to take that picture off of it too? We're on like a strictly breakfast and grains tangent here.
The next one's Mrs. Butterworth. You remember Mrs. Butterworth? Oh man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I really hope we can get off that train. There was a video going around. I think I want to say I saw it on Twitter, but it was an English lady that was talking about the importance of hearing, not censoring speech and hearing what everybody has to say. And no matter what you censor, people are going to say it, and that it's more dangerous to force it underground, to be talked about underground, than it is to be talked about in the open. And that's a very, very well said little piece. And I don't know why I just really get into it when I see British people talking, because I love a British accent. I don't know why. I just like listening to it. But she made just fast, great points. And I mean, it was edited. There was a couple little clip outs here and there, whatever kind of thing. But yeah, it's just so true. And I think that it rings true to cancel culture too. I just don't think anything should be canceled whatsoever. And there was a great YouTube video. I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos. I can't remember where I saw this one, and it got shared somewhere, but it was literally a guy that was walking through a grocery store. And he's going to like 800 items in the grocery store. And oh man, what was the one? It was like Dixie Pop or something like that, like a popcorn thing down in the States. And it is canceled, and Klondike bars canceled. And he's just going through all the stuff, coming up with a bunch of excuses to cancel it. And I literally pissed myself laughing for like 4 minutes, because everyone he came up to, he'd come up with some obscene, obtuse reason to cancel it. And he's just like, it's canceled. And he'd knock it over or whatever. And you could tell he's just in there doing this. There's people watching him, and like, oh, it was hilarious, man. But I thought it was really good. But it's like pretty quick and to the point of just how you could find anything in anything to cancel anything, right?
Well, here's a little more on Uncle Ben, okay? Says the name Uncle Ben came from an African-American farmer in Texas who is renowned for his high-quality rice. According to the brand's website, Gordon Harwell and his partner who co-founded the grains line decided to change the name of what was called converted brand rice in the late 1940s to draw on a new customer. They came up with the new name while having dinner at a favorite Chicago restaurant.
Really? Was the rice grown in Texas, or that's just where the food company was in Texas?
I think that's where
I don't think they grow much rice in Texas, do they?
Just says that the name Uncle Ben came from an African-American farmer in Texas who was renowned for his high-quality rice. I don't know.
High-quality rice, really? You know what? Now I'm going to start looking to see how many different varieties of rice they grow in Texas.
It's a funny thing because I remember, this is a weird, I don't know how we got here, Big Shooter. Well, I know.
We always seem to get different places, don't we?
Oh, we do. So my day consisted, I was telling you, of getting here after wrestling with kids, whatever, taking pictures. And I showed her my notes. I showed Randy my notes. Shout out to Randy. And I said, normally I have more than this. But I'm hoping Quick Dick will pick up on a couple things and away we go. Because I got literally Aunt Jemima. I got Premier Mo, not President Mo, but you know what I mean. And I'm like, well, we're gonna roll with it tonight.
You do know, so I think we always got to roll with it. Yeah, that's I don't know. That's a tough thing about running a podcast too. Like you kind of got to have everything scheduled out and kind of what you want to talk about. Just kind of structure things the way to go.
Here's the thing that maybe this is just me, but when you're interviewing somebody for the first time, I find it really not easy. That's a stretch.
You got a lot of introductional questions that you can run through.
And if I listen to Quick Dick now, in the first one there wasn't all the ammo there is now. You know how many podcasts you're doing, so I can literally hop on and listen to you for the next 20 hours, and I got a good idea of who Quick Dick is. That wasn't like that our first time, but let's just Wayne Gretzky, let's say. Wayne Gretzky's coming on. Like I can read probably 10 books on him. I can listen to this. You can get it's time and it's useless time. But the funny thing is when it comes to the third time, well, the fourth time for you, is like, well, what are we going to, what is going on in the world today? It's actually a fun little thing to get to, and I'm hoping to get to it with more guests because the introductory is fun.
Yeah,
but getting past that is a lot more fun. You actually get into some things.
Then to dig into it. Yeah, absolutely, man. No, that's great. It's kind of crazy. I've wound up doing a few podcasts, and I've got a lot of guys that are kind of hitting me up, which unfortunately, I can only get so many people, but it's going to hit a point too where like all of a sudden, like I try and hit retweets and try and share stuff out and everything like that, and try and get the stuff as much traction, for you guys as it can. But eventually, people like are past that introductory point kind of thing, and they're just like, okay, like I've kind of heard this guy do a podcast this many times or whatever, and that's where like, I've kind of got to the point where I'm only doing so many here and there because eventually people just don't want to listen to you. But on the other hand, what I have noticed is you get somebody pick you up that wants to do an interview, and then you kind of get introduced to their crowd of people, and they ain't ever heard of you before, kind of thing, right? So it's kind of a strange game to play, I guess.
Well, it goes back to what I said to you last time, because you were talking about, I don't want to do too many podcasts. I don't want to water it down. I'm like, not watering it down, man. There's like, God damn it, there's a lot of podcasts now. Like,
man, it's very true. Yeah.
And every time you hit a new one, you hit their audience. It gets, what I gotta assume is tough is being in your shoes, because I know, like, sitting down with Cabby Richards sticks out to me, like Cabby on the Street.
Yeah.
There's a guy from The Score and TSN, and he did these funny little skit videos with, like, he did one with, he was remembered or not remembered, he's still alive. He was renowned for his ones with Kobe Bryant when he was still alive. And he told me when he was going to come on, he's like, can we just skip by the introductory stuff? Can we just talk about some things? I'm like, Absolutely. Right. Like that pushes me to make sure I have my research done. And
yeah, absolutely.
And I appreciated, that conversation because it skipped out the first half an hour of where you get to know someone. But I am not in the shoes of Quick Dick or Cabby or whoever, where you're getting asked like once a week.
Consider yourself lucky.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But to sit and have the same conversation with somebody else over and over and over again, I don't mean as bad, because you got to be
I hear what you're saying,
humble about that. But at the same time, to have the same conversation over and over and over and over again, at some point in time, you got to be looking to the third time because you're like, I wonder what we're going to talk about tonight.
You know what? It really doesn't bother me. I guess the only thing I'm conscious of, and like, I'm going to share a little secret with you. I don't get self-conscious very often at all whatsoever. But the only thing I'm a little self-conscious about, whatever, is that I'll sit and have that first conversation with anybody, because 9 times out of 10, I'm meeting the person for the first time too. And that's how you have a conversation with somebody. You get to know them, is be like, what do you do? And it's like, yeah, I'll share my story with you and let you know a little bit about what's going on. And you're asking the questions because you probably don't know, and your listeners probably don't know. And yeah, you find yourself going over like the same story quite a bit, which is fine. I guess like my bigger thing when I do it is I'm just like, if I try and I'll try and push this stuff out to my crowd of people too, if they're looking for more content from me, and be like, how long does it go before they're like, oh, it's just another podcast with Quick Dick where he'll tell the story about him going cutting wood with BMA and drinking beer, and that's how it started. It exploded from there, and right? Which is good, and that's why I like coming on yours, and yeah, I like going on Vance's as well, because there's a lot of Vance's crew that down in his neck of the woods that have never heard of me or don't know who I am, kind of thing, which is great. And I like coming on your podcast because I know that a lot of the people that listen to your podcast in that area are like Quick Dick supporters and are fans, and we'll sit and listen to a guy talk. But I feel like a lot of people that listen to your podcast, I could sit across from like we're doing right now and have a beer and have basically the same conversation. And I think that's where people are like podcasts, is when they're hearing conversation that they like to have. Right. It's I feel like whenever we're having a podcast together, is that we're just kind of sitting in the shop drinking and having a bullshit conversation. Yeah, exactly. Right. Which is good. And that's what a lot of good Saski and Alberta and Canadian boys like to do, is just sit around, have bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this. I can't speak for your followers, but I always go back to when I got Paul Bissonnette, right? The guy's got over, I don't know what he's at now. At the time, he had over 1 million followers on Twitter, and it translated to 0. Like, not 0, but like, everyone, I assume, thought like, man, you must have had like 500,000 downloads. That must have been crazy. It's like, well, no, it's exactly what you're saying. If you want Quick Dick, you go to his stuff. And no, he did a podcast. I've never heard that. But then you hear it for the second time. Yeah, that was the same thing. Oh, you hear it for the third time? Yeah. I'm done. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
And totally. I can just imagine a guy like Paul Bissonnette, who's on a podcast every single week. If you want him, there he is. Right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need the intro story. He's sitting everywhere. And it's a funny little game. Right? It's cool to get him on. Like, I'm not knocking having him on. It was super cool.
Yeah, I definitely.
It's the same thing with you. To have you on, being the first, I'll give you props on this. Being your first podcast really gives you
you got my cherry, man. I can't believe that, eh? Yeah, you got it twice because of Podcast Zero. I'll never let you live that down in your life. Just so we're clear on that, right?
I might make a shirt with that on it. I got QDM's cherry.
You'd be crazy not to. Make sure it's made in Canada. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I can hook you up with a guy. I've got the guys.
But that one right there, it was evident to me that you'd never done podcasts before, because the YouTube views.
Oh, was that awkward or what?
You know what's funny? I remember, for the obviously the listeners weren't involved in the conversation, you saying, I don't know if I can hold a conversation for more than 15 minutes. Well, shit, here we go on 2 hours for the 4th time. And
every time, right?
Every time. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's not even laughable anymore.
Yeah. So just so you know, like when you do book me for a podcast, I always shout over to my secretary, and I'm like, Quick Dick, clear my schedule.
Wife goes to me tonight, so what time are you gonna be home? And I'm like, well, I got quick dick at 7:30. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. It's gonna be late, man. It's gonna be late.
Which is what it is, man. It really is.
I enjoy. I tell you what, we can move into the final segment here in a couple seconds, but you said something to me that I told a few people around me that I thought was that I use this line on a lot of people all the time. I was like, hey, quick, are you in Lloyd yet? And you're like, the highway runs both ways. And I was like, fair jab. So in the summertime,
I'm kind of a dick that way sometimes. Yeah.
In the summertime, if things are still the way they are, even if they aren't, I'm making a road trip to Tufnell. It's done.
I love it, man. Sounds great.
We're gonna do one of these in person, and we're gonna have one of those. What did you call them? Belly Band-Aids?
Belly Band-Aid, man. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna do one of those, and we're gonna get your old man in on it.
Like, we gotta do this more. Oh, yeah. It'd be hard to get BMA in on a beer.
Yeah.
Not. He'll be there. You know what? This has been good though, because I got a couple of I got a couple ideas off of the show here tonight already. We got Belly Band-Aid, and then we got to do Hinterland Who's Who. Oh man, this has been a really creative night. Actually,
hey, I'm just helping you out here. Hey, that's what I'm here for.
That's what friends do. I'm putting this into my notes in my phone right now so that I remember to do this stuff, because tomorrow I'm gonna forget. It's terrible. I must be getting old. If I don't put stuff in my notes right away, I lose it.
Listen, I was listening to you in Vance. I pulled over on the side of the road and jotted down the note in there, because I'm like, if I don't put this in right now, I'm going to lose it. And it'll be gone. And then I'll be like, God, I had an idea. I had a real good idea. I can't think of it now.
No, it's true, but that's
hey, you might have a shirt.
You know what's crazy, man?
You might have a shirt come Monday. Says I took QDM's cherry. We get creative with that. I don't know.
Yeah, you bring it up. I'll talk to my design team, see if they can help you out with that a little bit. It's actually funny. I just opened up the notes on my phone. I got a specific spot where I keep like everything that I got. I call it my job board or whatever. But anyone that like suggests ideas to me, which I actually get a lot of, and a lot of people just should keep their ideas to themselves because it's not what I'm about. But a lot of people have great ideas too. You know what I mean? So, and I make a joke that I'll put it on my job board, and my job board is an old broken piece of OSB, and I use a paint marker to write on it, kind of thing, which is not what I do. I just put it on my phone. But I have a lot of people go like, you know, are you ever scared you're going to run out of ideas? And I guess everyone is kind of scared of that kind of thing. But like, I just opened up the notes on my phone and like had to like go like this to put these at the bottom of the list. You know what I mean? And that's, I don't know. I've always said it. I've said it for a long time, but like you can really find funny stuff in everything. And that's, I mean, it's a part of what I've done. Like you're talking, you hear a shift in me kind of thing. I'm still kind of the same old me, but it's always cool to try something new and go in a different direction kind of thing. And I feel like no matter what, I can always fall back on that slapstick Saskatchewan humor, because there's just an endless well of it here. As long as you have your mind right and you're waiting for it and you grab it when you see it, you have to be able to recognize it, and you just have to be able to, even like with our Belly Band-Aid thing in the Hinterland Who's Who, I've already got most of them planned out in my mind in this tiny little bit of time that we've been talking to how I want it to go. Like I'm like a puppy dog watching a ball or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's hard to keep me on track, but I really hope I never lose that of not, you know, being able to do productions and stuff like that. Eventually that'll go away someday, but just being able to recognize that that's a funny thing. And that needs to be okay with a lot of people in this world. People need to focus a little harder on that. You need to be able to look at something and be like, that's actually a funny thing. There's times where there's things, it's a funny thing and you don't laugh at it and you don't tell people that it's a funny thing, but deep down inside you're like, oh shit, that's a really funny thing, but you just don't say it. You just keep yourself down, trying not to laugh. But then there's times, and man, I can't count the amount of times out at Barra Ranch and Dagnall Farms, the two places that I'm always working back and forth between, where I really feel like Quick Dick has been a good thing to happen to those two places, because typically it'd be a situation where there would be tempers flaring and people would be upset and whatnot. And since Quick Dick has come along, it's, instead of it being a traumatic experience, it's like, this is actually pretty funny, 9 times today, planted the 7520 in the biggest snowdrift you've ever seen in your life, trying to get a bailout. And instead of it being, give me a guy, phone's ringing, I need you to come pull me out. I'm over here doing this. He's over here doing that. I need you to come pull me out. It's just like, Quick Dick. Yeah. Saskatchewan Yank over by the bales on the double. On the way, you get there, you're laughing about it, right? So, man, if anything good comes out of this, like, I hope that kind of stuff continues to come out of it, right?
You can always see the positivity in anything. Always.
You've got to, man. You've got to. Negativity is, it's terrible. It's a cancer.
It's one of the things I really enjoy about you. It's one of the reasons I keep bringing you on here.
Well,
and
I appreciate that, man.
I laugh about the idea thing, because if you can believe it, I get asked all the time if I'm running out of gas. Like, there's like 7.8 billion people on this planet. If I could get a hold of just a fraction of them, I got enough for the rest of my lifetime.
I hear you, man. Hey, let me ask you a question. Like, do you have a hard time, like, getting, like, there'll be somebody like, I really want that guy on my podcast. Do you have a hard time getting people? Is it like a roller coaster? Okay. Or is it like you win the lottery sometimes when you do have someone that you're like, there's no way in hell I'll ever get them on. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, sure. No problem. And you're like, what?
So do you know who Keith Morrison is from Dateline, who has the great voice? No?
Shit. Sorry, man.
Okay. He's really famous. He's from the state. Well, he's from Lloydminster. He's born in Lloydminster, but he's in the States. It took me like 8 months, and I can't count how many emails. So when I finally got him, I didn't know what to do, right? Like, give me a belly Band-Aid. Let's get this thing rolling, kind of thing, right? Like, I don't know what to do.
I'm pumped up for how much you're going to use that now.
And for the rest of the time. I would say now that the world, like COVID, but it's had its good and its bad, right? So when COVID hit, everybody's at home. So in the beginning, there was ways to get a hold of people, and I was surprised at some of the names I got. But as time goes on, you could probably attest to this. You're getting hammered by, let's say you're getting hammered by 3 podcasts a week. I don't know what it is. What is Wayne Gretzky getting hammered by? What is?
Oh man, yeah.
What is?
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Right?
Are you saying I'm not as popular as Wayne Gretzky?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Yes.
That's a good point.
So I would say, the reason I talk about the change in you is because when I first started watching you, you were the guy who went after Trudeau and the easy picking cherries. And it's interesting just to watch your growth. I think of it as growth. Like, how am I going to continue to do this for another year? Or another year?
Very nice comment. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And over the last little bit, I've, I don't know if listeners have noticed it, but, I was a guy in the first, I don't know. I'm going to tell you quick. The first time you came on at episode 72, I got to assume the first 71, probably 92% of it was hockey guys, right? I'm labeled as a hockey podcast. But the 2 best episodes I think I've had, and this is no slight on you. This is no slight on anyone before, because I've enjoyed them all. But there are 2 episodes. That's a lie. 3. There are 3 episodes that I just hold in like that was something special, and I didn't see it coming. Cy Campbell, the World War II vet.
Oh, dude, that was so good. Like, so good.
And I mean, like, that comes with it, Judy Reeves, she survived the perfect storm, and maybe it's a little bit more to me because we talk about some things, but I've listened to it 3 times, and that isn't to hear my voice. That's to hear just the conversation. It is that good.
Yeah, man.
I've had people say it's Joe Rogan-esque, and for me, that's a very high compliment. And then the one is Byron Christopher, 150. That's what pissed me off so much about the mic not being loud when it was loud. And I don't know what I did on editing, but Byron Christopher is another one that you're going to, I promise you, when you start.
Oh man, I'm gonna check it out. Yeah.
You're going to be like,
for it.
you're going to be like, holy shit. Like this.
So here's the crazy, to be honest, there's a lot of the stuff that I'm actually starting to put on the list because right now, with calving and everything going, or well, we're not calving yet, but we're going to be getting into calving and we're getting a whole bunch of stuff done or whatever. I find myself at a point where I don't have a lot of time for like podcasts and everything, but I'm starting to compile this list because when I start working nights during calving and then get into like, it goes right into seeding. I mean, you have so much time that you need to fill space up here kind of thing, especially like through the night when you're calving. Like, yeah. So I'm slowly making this list of stuff that I need to listen to. And man, if you say it's good, I'm pumped. I'm going to hold you to it. And if it's garbage, I'm just gonna,
you come at me and I will laugh at you. I will laugh at you when you say it's garbage. Cause I'm telling you,
I'm just going to be running word sauce to you.
I'm not trying to pump, to anyone who's listened to it, they know already. If you don't like my style, you're not tuning in unless it's Wayne Gretzky, right? Or whoever your guy is. But if you've been listening since the beginning, I've had people walk in and go, or text and say, that might be your best. That might be your best.
Oh dude. That's awesome. That's a good compliment.
It has nothing to do with this guy. Nothing.
Yeah.
But
so have you noticed, like as you build your following and people that are listening to your podcast and everything, like have you noticed that you have like a group of hardcore people that are into what you're doing? They don't miss an episode. They'll make sure and comment to you on what's going on and everything.
So I got to give a shout out to the champ. The champ is an older gentleman. You hear that, Champer? Who works with me. And I always
serious respect.
I have
Champ, if Sean respects you, I respect you too. How the hell are you?
So what I do is after we're done, I have a little outro. Just like, hey, thanks for listening, blah, blah, blah. It's very canned, whatever. But then I have a little piece that I've started in 2021 that's, hey, Keeners, you still listening? And I bug the champ incessantly in there about go back to work because he's a lazy, he's out golfing at 2:00 in the afternoon. He's got his feet on the desk. And I would say that absolutely you got your audience. One of the things that people have told me over and over again, and in the beginning, I didn't know how to handle it, but I get it, is I've modeled what I do off of Joe Rogan because I really appreciate what he does. Well, he doesn't interview the same guy over and over again. He's not spitting chiclets. He's not cowboy things. He's not golfing. He's not whatever. He's, in my opinion, MMA, comedians, and interesting things that are going on. And that is talking to the best. And so for me, I wish I had the access of don't take offense to that quick. I think you're one of the best. I really do.
No, I was laughing at that, but like, I know I was laughing because I completely understand, like, because basically Joe Rogan can, like, his people can get a hold of somebody and be like, Joe wants you on the podcast. And they're going to be like, fuck yeah.
Right. And I'm,
unless you're Coulter Wall. And then you're going to be like, well, I'm a little too busy ranching. At which point in time, I'm like, you've reached level badass when you turn Joe Rogan down because you're too busy ranching. That's something. Anyways.
Coulter Wall. God, I'd love to have him on. But I mean, I go back to, I have people that probably say there's definitely dedicated people that listen to everything.
Right on, that's good, man.
But most people say, I love what you do. I just don't love every guest. And they, when I have the archives, there's a definite following of, like, anytime I interview somebody that's a community pillar. Now, obviously that's very specific to Lloyd, but I mean, who doesn't want to hear a 98-year-old talk a little bit about the old days? Right.
That's the thing. Like that's stuff that I could just sit and listen to forever. And that's like, I think that's why I was so entrenched in Si's podcast there. When you had him on, like it was even like, I couldn't believe how he would just kind of laugh about some of the things that happened and the atrocities and stuff. And it's just like, well, that's just kind of the way it was. And that's where I think the reason that I love listening to that one so much, and that's the one you sent me to when I was like, well, when I was like feeling you out, you were like,
Yeah,
you should listen to this.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Because like
I forgot about
to
that.
a lot of podcasts, man. And you sent me to the right one. And I was like, shit, man. Like, and I could listen and like, you know, like for Jack Scholes, when I did that video called You Don't Know Jack kind of thing for Remembrance Day and stuff, like I remember sitting, listening to him. He only talked about D-Day once, but he would talk about the war in general every now and then. And like, I'm a sucker for that stuff. I could sit and listen to vets talk forever because first of all, they need to talk. They should talk and we should listen because they have a very, very, very important story to tell. And they're getting to be very, very, very fewer of World War II vets. And we need to be very conscious of that as well. So that's another reason why I was really happy that you had him on because that's engraved in time now is his story, right? And that's more important things. And I like, you know, I wish that I'd been doing this back when I was a kid before Jack died, and I would have tried to do an episode with Jack for Remembrance Day kind of thing, right? But that's yeah, I could listen to vets talk all day.
Here's
really
here's a challenge to the listeners and to Quick Dick, because if I make a road trip to Tufnell, I've been saying this behind closed doors now for too long, and I don't know how to make it public. Maybe just put it on social media. I'm not sure. But I think, you know, you talk about Tufnell and it being very similar to all the other small towns. Saskatchewan farmers are all the same across all small, blah, blah, blah. Every small town has that one guy. You're like, he'd be a great podcast. Like, he'd be fantastic. And
yeah, man.
When I come to Tufnell, I want the one guy.
Okay, you got her. Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. Yeah,
because
for sure.
As much as I want Quick Dick, I want whoever at the co-op who's the old guy who everybody respects, and it'd just be great. Because I've been trying to do that as much as I can do here in this area because there's so many of them, and they're there really is, man. Yeah. And that's what Cy Campbell was, because he's from Unity. That's how I got put on him. Was listeners said, you got to go do this guy. Yeah. Oh yeah, your listeners were bang on 100%. Yeah, he was fantastic. But yeah, it's great. I'm glad you got people that stick around and watch it. That's one thing I've really noticed on my channel, and why I've kind of got to the point where I'm not afraid to go off in a lot of different directions, to try something new, or even like I wasn't sure how the Grain Hall Christmas Carol one was going to go, and it went like quite well. And that's when I went into this nippy one kind of thing or whatever. I get feedback from people, and like my thing is on YouTube that I can see who's commenting on all my stuff or whatever. And like, I get a lot of returning people that make sure they go down into the comments and they're like, I really like that one and which is fantastic. Right. And if any of them are listening, I just appreciate everybody taking the time to leave a comment. But after I did this one, I'd never again question if I had an idea for a parody of a song. It's not even a question. I'll just do it. Not trying to sound like a cocky bastard. If I've got an idea to do something, I'm just going to go do it anyways. And people are either going to like it or hate it, then whatever, right? If I've learned anything, is that one episode does not make you, and one episode certainly does not break you. Yeah, it's so true, man. Yeah. Because I've had, I don't know, I'm once again, you want to talk about not tooting your own horn. Like, I'm trying not to toot my horn, but it's funny because I've had the Don Cherry, the Ron McLean, the Paul Bissonnette, like the really big names. And yeah, man. I personally don't think they blew me out of the water. Like where I don't know, riding some chariot down Toronto going, hey, look at me. I still get asked by Glenn Healy, who the fuck is Sean Newman? And I'm like, well, I'm okay, let me ask you, do you envision success as riding a chariot down Toronto? But that'd be cool, wouldn't it? It would be cool. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah. You'd be like, yeah, shit, there goes Sean Newman down the main street on a chariot. In the hell is that guy downtown Toronto on a chariot with a cowboy hat on?
And all you're looking
Missing
for is the
teeth.
top barrel to make the turn. You know what I mean?
I think it's great when you try new things because you never know. You never know when that thing you're a little bit nervous to try is an absolute hit. And Nippy, well, I'm gonna play it at the start of the podcast. I'm telling you. So you probably remember this, but I get I get really good nerves, but bad nerves, whatever you want to call it, before every podcast. And it is the closest thing to playing hockey I've ever felt. And so that's like good, but it's bad because you have like this like 15 minutes of like, whew, here we go, get in it, right? And so I play I play AC/DC, right? I like a little AC/DC. It just gets me in the mood. And today I played Nippy. And I was like, shit, yeah, I'm ready for this.
Here's the thing that I will tell you about that I'll tell you about Grain Hall, and that I will like, I kind of rushed both of them. Like Nippy, I did completely on Sunday and uploaded for Monday, start to finish, which I will do different next time because like I just had the idea and pushed it out really fast because I just wanted something up Monday so that people that were always looking for me on a Monday before could just be like, oh shit, quick dicks on a Monday, right? Like I kind of wanted that. I would take more time at it and plan it out more. And like now when I look back on it, I was like, man, I could have done so many things different and made it even better kind of thing. But I'll keep working on that. Right. But that's gives you room to improve. The next music video that Quick Dick does, well, like I'll step it up a notch every time I do it. Right. And try and make something better or whatever. Right. And I think that's an important thing that people need to do, not just on, I mean, I know you do it on your podcast, and that people need to do generally in life, do something. And then if you're going to go repeat it, challenge yourself and do it better next time, right? And that's when, like, the next time I do a news broadcast, the Tough Null at 10, I want to do it better than the one I did before. You know what I mean? And I haven't done a Tough Null at 10 in a while. Maybe it's time for one of those too, right?
Tough Null. I want belly Band-Aids. That's what I want. Frig me. Actually, that has been the greatest thing ever. I might just make a belly Band-Aid t-shirt.
You should, yeah. I'll race you to it. First guy with a belly Band-Aid t-shirt wins, and it's got to be made in Canada. Oh, hey, dude, you want some other sweet ass news?
Yeah, fire away.
I've been getting my all my merch made in Canada, and I've like my merch store has been out of regular people sizes forever, kind of thing, or whatever. Just because with COVID, like my manufacturer is in Ontario, was the only manufacturer I could find in Canada to get actual bunny hugs made in Canada. It's not easy to find stuff made in Canada. Through like 800 different leapfrogs and wormholes and people that know people and everything, I found a manufacturer in Manitoba, and I've got one round coming in, which will be my last round that's made in Eastern Canada, and the round of merch following that will be made in Western Canada. Man, I'm pumped about it.
Okay, I was going to say this 2 hours ago. You said, I don't think we got too many things where we differ on it. I said, we probably got a few. And the Made in Canada thing, I want you to educate me because.
Sure. Well, I'll try. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, it's a Richardson hat. It's a Richardson hat. It says it on your snap. I noticed the SNP, and that sucker's made in China.
It is. Yeah. And this is how I justify it to myself. I want to be very clear because I love what you're doing. I love the Made in Canada.
Yeah, me too.
But what I worry about, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and that's why we're gonna do this at the end of the podcast. And if you're still listening, hold on to your hat, right?
You're gonna edit this back to the front later on.
That's right. I certainly. Is what surprised me about buying a hat off your site was it's expensive. It's an expensive hat, and it's cool that it's made in Canada. I can't deny that. I was like this is cool. Like this is cool, but it's expensive. And so what I did is I partnered with Factory Sports here in town. I got a buddy who him and his brother just bought the business in Lloyd. And so I'm like, in my mind, I'm supporting local Lloydminster business, And if you're wanting some SNP stuff, go into Lloyd, a store, and there it is. But
Yeah.
you always bring up, is it made in Canada? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't educate me, because I'm always up for
it's so
new
hard to
things.
find, man.
And I'm up for, right? Like, I'm up for anything. I'm
totally,
game for anything, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's so, and what I would counter to what you're saying for hit your guy again. What's her business name?
Factory Sports.
Factory Sports. So they do embroidery, screen printing, and everything at Factory Sports?
Yeah, they do everything.
Okay, perfect. So like what I do with places like that, and I actually use a local printer. So I'm wearing my Stars bunny hug tonight because I just finished actually working out before we got onto this or whatever.
Working out, no big deal.
Yeah, man, no big deal. I'm kind of a big deal. But anyways, my bunny hugs, like anything I get done, I get nothing decorated in Eastern Canada. I just get it made. And then I bring it here, and I bring it to the closest printer that I've been with, which is actually shit. Kale's getting a big shout out here tonight or whatever. D Signs and Designs out of Yorkton, which is an hour away here, is the closest place that I can get this stuff printed. There's some local ladies here that do like small time cricket stuff or whatever, and it's just they couldn't handle the volume that I needed, and I needed embroidery and stuff done, and so I wound up going to Yorkton to Kale there at D's, and so I get as much done as close to here as I can. I get them bulk made in Ontario, and then I get them shipped to him, because the same thing when I first went to him, the reason that I know your Richardson hat is made in China is because those were the first hats that I got was Richardson hats, because I just went to him and got everything through him. And he was like, okay, cool. So we brought him in, and then I was like, I want this stuff made in Canada. He's like, I don't have anybody. I'm not partnered with anybody. I don't know where I'd get it. So I ripped the top off the can, and I found people that would make it in Canada, and I got it all made and then shipped to him, and he did the decorating so that it still got him in on a piece of the pie, right? And so, and like I challenge you a little bit on when you go to my site and you say that it's expensive. Is a ball cap for $30 expensive?
No, but by the time
you pay shipping and taxes, it's a real bastard, right?
Yeah, it
so
is.
there's another part to that, which I've been waiting for, and now like I've changed things around. And this is when you buy shit that's online, you got to get it shipped, and shipping sucks. So the reason I stuck with Canada Post is because I ship absolutely every piece of QDM official wear out of the Tufnell Post Office. And Canada Post does not treat me very well out of the Tufnell Post Office, but I'm trying to keep the Tufnell Post Office open when I do it, kind of thing, right? So now what I've coordinated, which is hopefully going to be ready to go here by the time this new round of merch is ready to go, is I've actually got it set up now so that Purelator and UPS are actually going to be. We've established the Tufnell. Well, I guess we can't tell anybody this, but we've established the Tufnell Hall, which is actually the Tufnell Post Office as well, as a pickup as a pickup point for Purelator and UPS or whatever, right? Because I want to put some competition against Canada Post, which is basically a crown-owned corporation or whatever. I want to put some competition against them because I've been after them for a while, and I'm like, why can't you guys give me $10 flat rate shipping on all my stuff within Canada? I don't care what it costs to ship it outside of Canada, but I want $10 flat rate shipping, because initially when I started all this stuff, I was using a drop shipper out of Ontario to try and get it done, which I did not want to continue to spend all of my money in Ontario and none of it here. So I've done everything I can to move it here, and I'm trying to get shipping in check. And I kind of look at it as when I go to a lot of other people's websites, I see snapback trucker hats for sale for 40 and upwards of $40.
Well, here,
like, no,
here. I will give you a break on that, because I went to a different company, and I won't bash anyone, and I got this same hat, which I don't know what this hat costs. Let's call it $15. That's probably high. Sorry, before embroidery, but like the actual hat, and it was $44 American to get shipped.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
man, that's tough. Like, all I want to do is I just want to make something that people want to wear and they can afford.
I hear you, man.
And I want to support the local business. And
yeah.
but in saying that, Good old quick. I knew if I asked you, you're going to have an answer. It wasn't going to be like, no, I support local and go fuck yourself. It was like, no, I get it. So I I want to know who you got in Manitoba, because I think it's super cool. I go back to Heath McDonald, who is the Crude Master Final Five, right? I had him on.
Yeah.
He is a no nonsense guy. And he has given me a line that I'll probably say to my kids for the rest of the time. And he was talking about protesters, but you'll get a kick out of this.
I hate protesters.
He said, if you're going to stand behind something, stand behind it. And
yeah, man,
I can only sit here and talk about how I view you. And I assume that I speak for a few people and that you stand behind it. And I find that I admire that. I think that's super cool. And
I appreciate it, man.
If there's a way that I can make it all Canada and still have it come through the guys that I want to support around my area, I think that'd be super cool.
I hear you. And that was kind of a line that I had to draw. But in all reality, like, yeah, if you're going to walk the walk, and like, I won't stop. Like, I will continue trying to improve it and trying to get it closer and closer and closer. And I feel like I've done better getting it into Western Canada. I can't disclose my Manitoba guys yet, because our deal is kind of still in the works a little bit. And it's going to be, I'm raising the price of production by bringing it to Manitoba so far. And I'm going to have to start working in quantities to see what I can do. But that's here nor there. And like, you won't see prices change on my website. And to be perfectly honest, like, I think if I'm selling a men's large bunny hug for $65, that's made in Canada.
That's a good deal, man.
There will be people in the business, and I am going to try my hardest to stay politically correct here, and I'm probably not going to do it, but I'm gonna let her rip, because
well, in that case, we might let's do some product placement for a little Ribstone Creek.
Yeah. Ribstone Creek, nice work. Great brewery, yeah, awesome. So I got to work with these guys in Manitoba a little bit or whatever, and the amount of digging that it takes to find these places is insane. And the guy actually that I've got doing my hats right now is in Richmond, BC, and I'll name drop him. It's TriStar Headwear in Richmond, BC, and they do a great job. And we are working not only on a made in Canada hat, we are working on a product of Canada hat. That means 98% of the cost of an article that is made that's labeled product of Canada occurred within the borders of Canada. That means that the twill wool that's on the front of these things was milled in Canada. Like that, like, and the plastic that's in your beaks has been cut in Canada. A lot of people don't understand how far you need to go to get product of Canada. And we're not there yet. The next round coming in is made in Canada. We're working on product of Canada, but we got to get costs in check, right? I'm handcuffed a little bit, because if I was just selling to people in Foam Lake, and that's why I moved some merch to Willie's liquor store in Foam Lake, and some to Edfield Motors and Edfield, just because, yeah, people would be like, well, I'd love to buy one of your hats and the price is fine, but I'm not paying shipping. And I'm like, well, just select local pickup if they're from around here on the website, and I'll just drop it off, or you can pick it up at the post office in Tufnell. They're like, well, I don't want to drive to Tufnell. And I'm like, okay, I get it, right? Because it's another 10 or 14 bucks on top of something to get it shipped, and then you got to give Scott Moe and Justin Trudeau their cut of what you're getting or whatever, right? And I get it, but
I think for the true fan like myself, like when I didn't have any hesitation of it, it was like 44
I appreciate that, man.
That sucks, but I'm going to do it because I really, really, well, it goes back to what I just said, right? If you believe in something, stand behind it. Yeah, and then you're a guy that I admire. I'm not trying to.
Well, oh, geez. Well, I appreciate that.
Not trying to play tummy sticks with you, as Mr. Bissonette would say, right? I'm not trying to do that, but I just like, to me, I get it. I just think, to get the line bigger, or maybe you don't even care. I don't know if you care.
Yeah. So like, what I will say here is, like, I would take you looked at big fashion companies and big fashion designers and stuff like that, and a lot of people. China's one of the main places that people will source out to offshore because they can get it done cheap, because they have no labor laws and they have no carbon tax and they have no pollution laws. They don't give a shit about anything. They're going to make it cheap and they're going to ship it back to you. We're supposed to be sending sea cans full of chickpeas back to them last fall here or whatever, and they were demanding that sea cans come empty because the demand of product to come back to Canada was so huge that they didn't want them tied up to be loaded with chickpeas to go back there. So that's where we're at with China.
Have you seen the images of how many sea cans are on the road there? Have you seen that picture?
It's fucked, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is a light statement. That isn't like you should. Hey, if you're listening, look up that picture. Holy Jesus.
Yeah. So all that aside, and like, I mean, I'm not against, getting clothes done in Mexico and the US and the Bangladesh. I mean, they buy a lot of crop from us and everything. And like in India and a few different places, you can look at some of these places. I'm more of, you really got to look into how the products are made and how the employees are treated that are making the products. And that's why I have chose to stick with made in Canada stuff, because of our labor laws. And there's a lot of people that are in the fashion industry. Like, I'm not going to talk dollar factors, but if I was telling you what I was turning for profit off of a $30 hat, anybody that's in the fashion industry or in any of this kind of merch industry would look at me and laugh their ass off.
Yeah, but
you chump. But I'm like, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to make a fortune off of merch or whatever, right? All that set aside, if you keep working towards the stuff or whatever, you can get it all. I sourced it all. I got it done. And there'd be some people look at me, be like, for a hick prairie boy that just works on a farm or whatever, like you did pretty good sourcing this stuff out or whatever. And I'll be like, thanks very much. And then you get it here and you send it out. You don't make that much money. But the matter of fact is I'm handcuffed here in Tufnell because I've got people from the US and from Lloydminster and from, Taylor, BC, and out in 10 different towns in Ontario that want to buy my stuff. And I get a lot of people are like, well, shipping's expensive. And I'm like, we'll drop by Tufnell and pick it up then. You know what I mean? Like how do you win that? You really don't, right?
I got to be honest, you probably don't. And that's why we've left it to the end of the podcast, because I thought it's tough because I really admire what you're doing. I really do. And
that, thanks.
I go, and maybe I'm selling myself short. Maybe I'm selling yourself short. But when you can go into a store anywhere and buy I don't know, give me a hat, fucking Toronto Blue Jays hat. Let's go something like that for $30 and walk out with it. But you don't need to order it on. It's just everywhere. Or you want to get one of these or one of them, and it's going to cost more than that. And maybe I'm wrong on that. And I really, I think what people admire about you, Quick, and I'm talking about myself too, and why there was no hesitation, is I get like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow it through. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to try and make it 100% out of Canada. And there's something cool to be said about that.
Yeah, I really feel there is too. And I feel like more people need to do that. And I feel like more people will continue to jump on that bandwagon. Damn, man, right down to, I had to go, I was putting some merch out at Enfield Motors today, and I needed some hangers. And so I went down to the Home Hardware in Foam Lake here or whatever. And I literally looked at where the hangers were made before I bought them. And I'll be damned if they didn't have clothes hangers made in Canada. I bought the bastards. But like, I'm to the point where I check absolutely every label that I buy. And if it says made in China, I'll leave it on the shelves. If it says made in China, I don't need it. I just leave it. And that's sad that that's where I'm at, but that's where I'm at.
I don't know if that's sad.
I will not support manufacturing in a country that is holding 2 Canadians in prison charges that they haven't disclosed, and they're a bunch of thugs, and I will not support China at all whatsoever. They won't even buy our canola direct from us. So we got to ship it through 2 different countries for them to buy our canola from us. Like, I don't know why we put up with this shit, but I'm making my stand, and we're going to continue with our federal government to make it next to impossible to run businesses here in Canada and to manufacture things in Canada here. And like, why are we waiting on the rest of the world to bring us vaccines right now? Why are we not making vaccines? Why don't we have contracts signed that we can make vaccines here in Canada? We need to to be able to make things and not rely on the rest of the world, not rely on the US to ship our oil and gas products through. We need to be Canada. And if my tiny, tiny little stance that I make is with Quick Dick bunny hugs and t-shirts that you buy, well, God damn it, man, I'm making that stand and I'm going to make it. Well, you know what I mean? And I appreciate absolutely every single person that buys it and orders it. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Right down to my boxes, I have found a Canadian manufacturer to make my cardboard boxes and tape. My fucking tape, Sean, is made in Canada now. So,
well, I'm telling you, you're going to get more hats sold off of that than I am off of. I'm doing it, like I think you win the argument. You're
supporting a local business. I'm not arguing against supporting
a
local business, but
I completely understand.
These are opportunities where you can take local businesses, and that's what I've done with a few of these guys that I've used around here. Is I've introduced them to some of these manufacturers that I've found, and they're like, "Well, shit,"
Here's a thing that came up on a podcast it originated from an argument that me and a brother got. You never get in arguments with your brothers, I'm sure.
Never been in one with them in my life.
That's right. I said some pretty harsh words and I had to call and apologize, and no worries, Mom, it's all solved. We're all good. But he said a line to me, and brother Dustin, he said something that has stuck with me, and I see it in you. And I see it in people that are, that if you're going to stand behind something, stand behind it, right? Where's the line? So where is the line for you? And that can mean a lot of different things. And I see it with you, and I see it with different people in whether it's lockdowns, right? Like, I love the fact that some small town restaurants were like, this isn't right anymore. Like, we need to be open, and it's not sitting here having a parade of 1,000 people in, but you keep us locked down for too much longer, we're not going to have anything to walk back to.
Yeah.
And so I think Bashaw opening up, and now Alberta's starting to loosen things and things like that. Like that's cool, but not enough people think where's the line, and that's a tough question to answer. Well, it's going to push you to your beliefs.
It really is, and like we're really lucky in Saskatchewan. There'd be some people that might listen to this that might debate me and might be mad at me or whatever, but we never went back to full complete lockdown here after the very first one. Everybody declared states of emergency, locked everything down, and then everybody had a reopening plan or whatever kind of thing. We've never gone back from ours, and our active caseloads are starting to go down. I mean, the Saskatchewan numbers have been highest in Canada for a little while, and I really hope that they continue to go down and level back out with everybody else. With us having left restaurants and businesses and things, I think we had casinos and bingo halls that they went back on and say, hey, we got to shut those down kind of thing. We let some practices going with hockey teams. And I really hope that we continue on the track that we're on, because it would be great to come out of this and having us have been a province that did give small businesses the opportunity to stay open and try and make a little bit of a living through this. And hopefully we can all come out in the same shape at the end of it. Whether that's what's going to happen or not, I'm not sure, but I'm just in the same sense glad that I'm not a medical professional right now that's trying to help navigate through something so new right now. And that's where Saskatchewan here, specifically Dr. Sakib Jahab, has had a lot of flack, and I don't think that's right. And it's just a lot of medical professionals that are trying to help navigate through a lot of shit that people don't know a lot about at this point in time. And they're just trying to do best case scenario and try and make things happen. And I just, on a little bit of a side note, I know we're probably getting close to wrapping here, but I can't imagine being a doctor in our new day and age where you have people coming in that have Googled what's wrong with them, and they know what's wrong with them, and they're just coming for you to either cut into them or to give you a prescription kind of thing. And I can't imagine being a doctor. I'm not going to disclose exactly where it is, but I have a doctor very, very, very close within my family. And I've asked her this question many times, and she's like, oh my God. She's like, it's insane. And she's like, it's really a part of how you have to, it's even stuff that they have started covering in medical school now or whatever is like how to deal with people that already know what they have, and like, patient mannerisms and stuff like that. But I have so much respect for doctors. I some of them I don't, but like 90% of them I do, because we live in a world where everybody seems to think that they know absolutely everything. And if you're a person that knows absolutely everything and you know what's wrong with you, you know what's going on, well, why are you even going to a doctor if you know what's going on? Get a bottle of whiskey and get out a scalpel and cut into yourself and get yourself fixed. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff's a little bit scary to be a doctor and try and navigate through these times with everybody having their own opinion, right?
I would say that at the end of the day, they're not the government. I hold the government accountable for everything we're going through.
Absolutely, man.
That's good or bad. That's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
No point in ragging on a nurse or telling a nurse or a doctor. Like they're trying to do what all of us are trying to do.
They're there doing their job. I'm gonna go out tomorrow and I'm gonna cut strings on a bale and freeze my balls off and try and feed a bunch of miserable, pissed off calves and axe out a bunch of frozen watering bowls.
Okay, we're closing in on the final five. I'm about to put us there, but before we get there, I gotta ask: does QDM have Valentine's Day plans since they're just around the corner?
Yeah, I'm gonna spend it the same way. Special meal for all the girls. You know, we'll do a little bit of silage, a little bit of barley. Maybe have a little bit of minerals mixed in there, a little bit. Yeah, we'll give them real nice. Maybe a little bit of extra bedding kicking around for them should be really nice. 2 dogs, so we'll feed them. I got some sausage that I've been keeping in the freezer. So when I'm going to give the dogs sausage, it's actually year-old sausage that's freezer burnt that needs to get used up anyways. But they'll get that. And yeah, man.
So oh God. No. Well, all right then. That's fair. That's fair.
No, I'm still flying single. I basically have no love life, and I think COVID has kind of hampered that a little bit. And
you realize
it's not that I'm not shopping. You know what I mean?
I had I won't say last names, but a lady named Laura came. Well, not specifically. I don't know how this stuff happened. But it got told me, like, Laura says she'll gladly be QDM's date for Valentine's Day, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? She's like, I don't know, just tell him. I'm like, all right.
Well, give Laura my damn number, you dummy. Like, what are we? You don't know how this works?
I gotta hook a brother up. All right, well, let's do this. We've been talking for a long ass time. Let's do, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Let me be very.
Yeah, me too, man. Always enjoy having a chat with you, man.
Well, let's do the Crude Master Final Five. Shout out to Heath and Tracy McDonald. 5 questions. Now on to question number 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I may have doubled a couple up in there because, well, so be it. Here we go. Right. What is your favorite thing to do in minus 40?
I honestly, I like seeing how much collective ice I can get in the beard. It's like a fucking challenge every single time. It's like you get in and I'll even look at, like, when you walk up to the door of the shop, like I'll stop and like inspect and see how much ice I've got in the beard kind of thing, because eventually when you're out in the cold, you got to keep track of something. There'll be times where I'll start like walking harder than I normally do to try and get more breath going to see how much beard ice I can get going on. So it's a battle of the beard.
Beard ice.
Yeah.
What's one subject that you haven't talked about yet with your videos that you want to talk about?
Oh, man. Jeez. I feel like I kind of talk about whatever I want to talk about. I guess it'll be one that I'm actually working towards. That ever will be. I kind of want to talk about the positive sides to green energy versus the negative sides kind of thing or whatever, which I've always up until this point just focused on the negative. And like, yeah, I think I want to bring around a few of the positive sides to it, because there are some. There's not many, but there's some, and we need to consider them. So yeah, I guess that would be it.
The correct answer was small town hockey, but hey, that's just me.
I'm not a hockey guy, man. I'm probably, you know what? I am the worst sports guy on planet Earth. I can't believe you have me on the Sean Newman podcast.
That's right. Look over the shoulders. The answer was, let's talk about
man.
some small town hockey. 0 points for Quick Dick. But hey, I'll
All
take
right,
it.
yeah, I'm not batting very good here, man.
If you were to do a commercial, said company said, hey, Quick Dick, we want you to represent us, which company do you think it would be? Like your
Durex.
most Durex?
Yeah, hands down. Yeah.
Durex?
No, not Durex. I would. I think it would be great for both me and BMA to like. I would do a Dodge commercial tomorrow. Like I know I run Morty's 94 Ford. Like I get it or whatever, but I would do a Dodge commercial tomorrow because I'm kind of a hardcore Mopar guy.
All right.
Yeah. Or Freightliner, one or the other, because there's so many guys out there that are like Peterbilt. Dude, I owned a Freightliner for years and years and years or whatever. I love Freightliners, man. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are pushing end on the podcast right now and will unsubscribe from YouTube.
Well, I don't know if. Listen, on Father's Day, I'm going to have my father on. I wanted to have him on this Father's Day. And he said, you've been having guys on like, whoever. I'm not, don't got that. But this guy has stories. He's a great storyteller. And I will make sure I bring up trucking and what type of truck he wants or likes just for you. Because growing up, all I had heard was Kenworth, Peterbilt, blah, 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 Cat.
Yeah, you get him in there. You get him ripping on me, man. I like it when people rip on me. It's fun, man.
Absolutely. All right. If you could go back to one conversation in history, where do you think you'd go?
Like in all of history?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's a big question, man.
I know it is, but I gotta have one of those.
I would go back to whoever the hell it was that made the caramel bar and get figured out why in the fuck it was going to be such a big secret. Like, why was their marketing scheme to be never let them know
brilliant marketing
milk inside the caramel bar? Why can't we just be like, here's how we do it? You know what I mean? We're still
that's brilliant marketing. Anyways. That's brilliant marketing.
I guess their marketing.
How many times did you open up the wrapper and be like, where's the secret? Oh, that isn't it.
I never looked because I knew it wasn't going to be in there. I just got in there.
Well, I'm the dummy who was looking every time. I was like, nah, crap. In 2050, what will we look back at as absolutely hilarious?
We let Justin Trudeau run our country for 2 terms. 2 terms. I hope it's not 3.
Here's Sean throwing a softball to Quick Dick to smack out of the park. Thank you, sir, for hopping back on for round number 4. It's been, it's always fun.
Oh man, yeah. Thanks so much for having me, man. Yeah, it's always great to have a chat, and thanks for sharing your audience with me. And yeah, it's just been a good time, man. It's always a good time. Look forward to the next time we sit down.
Hey, folks, thanks for joining us today. If you just stumbled on the show, please click subscribe. Then scroll to the bottom and rate and leave a review. I promise it helps. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, we will have a new guest sitting down to share their story. The Sean Newman Podcast is available for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast fix. Until next time.